Chapter 12:33. This person is a spy. How dare he impersonate a prince? Kill him. How could Xue Wuheng be a match for a Chiliarch who was personally leading the troops? Xue Wuheng's hands and feet turned cold as he watched the enemy charge at him. He thought that he could delay them for 2 hours, but before the hour was up, the Chiliarch had already discovered him. How could the Chiliarch not have seen a prince before? He hid in the dark and hinted for a capable subordinate to kill him. My life is over. Xue Wuheng looked up and sighed. It was impossible to count on Yi Qinghan now. Boom! The Chiliarch saw that Xue Wuheng had given up resisting, and his sword pierced through the void with thick killing intent. Before the sword arrived, the sword chi had already arrived. Hua! Bang! The sound of the sword chi colliding was ear-shattering. The sword exploded in front of Xue Wuheng, but it didn't hurt him at all. Instead, it pushed the Chiliarch back a few hundred meters. Boom! A 7-foot-long saber hit the iron bridge and stabbed into the mountain rocks. Prince Xue Wuheng is here. Who dares to behave atrociously? Are you trying to betray the realm? A majestic roar sounded like the arrival of the Emperor of the Snow Empire. The power of heaven and earth rushed from behind, and the border river roared. Raging waves crashed against the shore, rolling up thousands of layers of waves. Boom! Yi Qinghan leaped into the air from behind and flipped a few times in the air above Xue Wuheng's head. His large hand grabbed the hilt of Violent Chong's saber and pulled Violent Chong out of the ground. He held the saber horizontally 10 meters in front of Xue Wuheng like a god of war protecting him. Xue Wuheng felt that with Yi Qinghan behind him, no one would dare to touch him. He was so excited that he wanted to roar at the sky. Looking at Yi Qinghan's back, his eyes were full of worship and excitement. He felt that with Yi Qinghan's protection, the throne of the Snow Empire's god realm would belong to no one else. The Teeling Guard was the name of the border army. At this moment, they were stunned and took a few steps back. They were suppressed by Yi Qinghan's aura alone. The 10,000-strong army looked at Yi Qinghan's murderous aura and will, and no one dared to move recklessly. Tell your Chiliarch to come out. How could he not know whether he was Prince Xue Wuheng or not? Or is he simply trying to get someone else to do his dirty work and make you all the scapegoats? Yi Qinghan coldly rebuked as he stepped forward and glared at the army. What proof do you have that he is the prince? How could the prince be in the ultimate martial realm? This kind of mission is only for people who have just joined the border army. Do you think we are fools? You must be trying to trick the major into coming out. You must be plotting something. Brothers, kill these two for me. The first Chiliarch to attack immediately roared. Boom! Yi Qinghan stomped his foot, causing the mountains and rivers to tremble. His aura surged into the heavens as his ice attribute spiritual essence froze everything within 1,000 miles. He pointed his saber at the Chiliarch from afar, his eyes filled with an inviolable will. You dare to kill a prince? How dare you? As a Chiliarch, who are you working for? Is it the Snow Empire, the God Realm, or an enemy country? Yi Qinghan's voice was like a clap of thunder as it exploded in the sky. His aura was terrifying as a superior aura pressed down on the other side. The Teeling Guards were actually suppressed by Yi Qinghan's aura. Fellow Realm Army friends, please remember your glory. To serve the Realm Lord, to serve the entire Snow Empire, and not to serve the selfish desires of a certain person. This person, as 1,000-men commander, dared to offend his superiors, and wanted to kill this king without any reason. Could it be that my identity as a prince of a realm is fake? Could it be that you can't find out? Tell your Chiliarch Taichunkuan to come out. If he says that this king is not Xue Wuheng, this king will kill himself here. Affected by Yi Qinghan's aura, Xue Wuheng finally mustered up his courage and walked to the front and said coldly. At this time, the ordinary border army soldiers were somewhat suspicious. If it was not Xue Wuheng, who would dare to speak like this? If it was really Xue Wuheng, the crime of killing a prince was not small. It was possible that his entire family would be implicated. And the Chiliarch only needed to shirk responsibility and say that he was not present. The ordinary border army soldiers were the best of the best among their peers. No one was stupid enough to be used as a tool by others. The Chiliarch was forced back by Yi Qinghan's aura. The cold-blooded Yi Qinghan's eyes were filled with killing intent, so much that he did not dare to look straight at them. Tai Qingkuan was hiding in the dark. There was anger in his eyes. He did not think that his subordinates would be so useless. They were actually intimidated by a nameless pawn and did not even dare to say a word. Yi Qinghan alone could intimidate thousands of soldiers and horses. The great Xue Wuhan, the 18th prince, was like a pretty girl from a humble family in front of him. He was inexplicably excited, as if he was the one intimidating the army. Shua. An image stone appeared in Yi Qinghan's hand. He said in a low voice, "I have recorded everything that happened at this moment. We have already revealed our identities. If you still insist on killing, I may not be able to save the prince's life. But I can guarantee that even if your Chiliarch comes personally, he will not be able to kill me. I will give this image stone to the imperial court. The Iron Mountain Guard will announce the crime of treason to the world. Can you bear this crime?" This sentence hit the weak spot of the border army. Not only were the ordinary border army soldiers unwilling to kill Xue Wuhan, even the other Chiliarchs wanted to stop him. "Qingyang, you cannot kill him. You must investigate clearly. Otherwise, you will be harming the entire Iron Mountain Guard." A Chiliarch stood out and warned in a low voice. "That's right. We must investigate clearly. If he is really the prince, then we will bear the crime of treason. This is a shame that will never be washed away." Shua shua shua. Following that, all the Chiliarchs and Centurions expressed their stance at the same time. They did not allow Qingyang to kill Xue Wuhan. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He locked the Chiliarch of the Iron Mountain Guard with his divine sense but did not expose him. He was also worried that this guy would do something desperate and directly kill Xue Wuhan. After all, Xue Wuhan was still very useful to him. As expected, when Tai Qingkuan saw that he could not kill Xue Wuhan anymore, he quietly retreated 100 miles away. Then, he pretended not to know anything and rushed over. "What are you doing? How dare you stop and kill the prince in person? Are you trying to betray the imperial court?" Tai Qingkuan pretended to be angry and scolded Qingyang and the others. "Greetings, Your Highness. We did not know. Please forgive us." The Iron Mountain Guard immediately knelt down on one knee and shouted in unison. "We failed to recognize Mount Tai and almost killed Your Highness. Please punish us." Qingyang secretly glanced at Tai Qingkuan. He did not dare to push the blame to him. He could only grit his teeth and bear it himself. "Men, take Qingyang away and flog him 300 times. Give him a good beating. Let him remember that the dignity of Your Highness is not to be blasphemed." Tai Qingkuan spoke first before Xue Wuhan could speak. The punishment was quite heavy. He had put a lot of thought into it. Xue Wuhan knew that Tai Qingkuan was suspicious. Seeing him push the blame to Qingyang, he was furious. Just as he was about to speak, Yi Qinghan stopped him. Yi Qinghan shook his head and transmitted his voice. "Don't offend him. As long as you can leave this place alive. If you push him too far, he will do something desperate." Chapter 12:34. After Yi Qinghan's reminder, Xue Wuhan finally realized where he was. He gave a few false thanks to Yi Qinghan, alleviating the heavy atmosphere. "I'm sure you're worried about the prince's safety. Why don't we have the prince personally select a team to escort you to your destination? The prince will definitely repay us in the future. If His Majesty learns of this, he will also give you a merit." Yi Qinghan looked at Tai Qingkuan and said calmly, "Of course. How could I let the prince be in danger again?" Tai Qingkuan immediately said righteously. Xue Wuhan looked at Yi Qinghan's back and felt that he was a genius. He could conquer territories in the outside world, and in the imperial city, he could decide everything with a single word. Whether it was battle prowess or intelligence, he was one of the best in the world. At this moment, he was far more reliant on Yi Qinghan than on his most trusted subordinate. Dong Menxian's position in his heart had dropped quite a bit. If that's the case, then I'll choose a Chiliarch to escort me to the Xiling army. I'll definitely report this merit to His Majesty." Xue Wuhan calmed himself down and said in a low voice. Xue Wuhan glanced at the 9 Chiliarchs and found that they all had excited expressions in their eyes. It seemed that they wanted to contribute. If a Chiliarch didn't have the opportunity, they would remain Kiliarchs for the rest of their lives. They wouldn't be able to become a major, and they wouldn't be able to become a supreme god. There weren't that many supreme gods in the world, and it was already a big deal for one of them to become a supreme god in 100 years. Naturally, they would want to serve a prince. Once the prince became the emperor, he would definitely nurture his own supreme god. This was the only way out for those at the bottom of the hierarchy. Shui Wuhen couldn't tell which Chiliarch was more talented and worth nurturing. He couldn't help but look at Yi Qinghan, hoping that he could give him some advice. Yi Qinghan had been through hundreds of battles, and there was nothing wrong with his ability to judge people. He had met a few scum in the past, and now his eyes were very sharp. "I'll choose the third one from the left," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Shui Wuhen followed Yi Qinghan's gaze. It was a resolute young man with a rare righteous and heroic spirit. Most importantly, the determination in his eyes was the most resolute. His cultivation was at the limit of the giant level. As long as he was nurtured by the emperor and wasted resources, he would have a chance of becoming a supreme god. "Third Chiliarch from the left," Shui Wuhen said in a low voice. Tut, tut. The young man's steps were steady, and he had the aura of a soldier. His every move was in accordance with the rules. He stepped forward and bowed. "Your humble servant is Dai Yuxuan." Tap 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 taps greetings. He, his father's as was. Calm, S's as well as was he. "Thank you, Your Highness. I will definitely send Your Highness back to the Xiling military headquarters safely. If there are any enemies, I'm willing to protect you with my life." Dai Yuxuan had a dignified appearance and a strong voice. He was a rare talent. Very good. The Empire needs a general like you. Superintendent Tai is indeed worthy of being the commander of the Iron Army. The talents he nurtures are all pillars of the Empire. The Iron Mountain Guards were delighted to see me today. When I return, I'll report this to Imperial Father. Shui Wuhen had learned his lesson. His flattery made Tai Chengkuan smile, and his disgust for Shui Wuhen lessened. Dai Yuxuan mobilized the 3rd Battalion and shouted, "All soldiers of the Iron Mountain Guards, listen up. Escort His Highness back to the Xiling Army. Protect His Highness with your life. Protect His Highness with your life." The army of 1,000 marched in unison. With a stomp of their feet, the sound wave rushed into the sky. There were 2 more groups of horses. Yi Qinghan and Shui Wuhen each had a horse, each carrying a woman on their back. These were their spoils of war. Capturing women from the outside world was a supreme honor. It symbolized the bravery and strength of the border army. As long as Shui Wuhen brought the women back, he would no longer be a prince who came to gild his name, but a soldier who had experienced a life-and-death battle. With him as the vanguard, which border army would dare to look down on him? Yi Qinghan and Dai Yuxuan, one on the left and one on the right, protected Shui Wuhen. The 3 horses galloped forward. The army behind them flew all the way, stirring up dust. The army galloped along the official road. The Xiling Army and the Iron Mountain Guards were 30,000 miles apart. It might be a short distance in the outside world, but near the border river, 30,000 miles was harder to travel than 3 million miles outside. Fortunately, the horses here were all powerful beasts. They fed on flesh and blood. Their limbs were powerful and they were extremely fast. This army was many times better than the one led by Qin Yang. The army of 1,000 was so shocked by Yi Qinghan's angry roar that they did not dare to move. It could be seen from the comparison of the 2 armies. If the 2 armies faced off, the victor would be decided in 2 hours at most. After this matter, the confidence and glory of this army were even stronger. They would definitely leave the other border armies far behind. Several hours later, Yi Qinghan and the others appeared in the territory guarded by the Xiling army. At this moment, Dong Menxian was anxiously waiting for Shui Wuhen's return. He did not think that Yi Qinghan would actually bring him back from another place. He immediately turned around to welcome them. Seeing the 2 being escorted back by the Iron Mountain Guards, his expression changed greatly. "Why did you run to the Iron Mountain Guards' territory?" Dong Menxian did not care about etiquette and asked curiously. General Dongmen, these few days, This king has finally satisfied his craving. We found a treasure in the ultimate martial realm's ultimate martial mountain and even got 200 grams of divine life elixir. We killed 6 young experts of the ultimate martial sect and took 2 women back. In the end, we were discovered by the ultimate martial realm's army and were surrounded by several supreme gods. After going through untold hardships, we finally escaped. If it was not for Zhuo Feng protecting me, I probably would not have been able to return. Shui Wuhan was incomparably excited. Dong Menxian listened to Shui Wuhan's simple words, but the corner of his eyes was madly twitching. Being surrounded by the enemy's army and being personally attacked by a supreme god, it was simply a miracle. Your Highness is mighty. The Shilling army's army shouted, the sound waves shaking the sky. Ha! This is the spoils of war. This king is back. Shui Wuhan shouted excitedly. He pulled out the female cultivator behind him and lifted her up. When the captured woman woke up, she was immediately frightened. She did not even dare to move. Her eyes were filled with fear. The Shilling army was excited. The prince had taken the lead and was able to bring back spoils of war. Only now did they understand that everything was fair. If the prince could reach this step, why couldn't they? Shui Wu also rushed out. Seeing Yi Qinghan and Shui Wuhan bring back spoils of war, she curled her lips in dissatisfaction. She tenderly humphed and said, "If I went, I could also bring back a man." "Ha, luckily I didn't bring you. Little Wu, you don't know how dangerous it was. If I brought you, we definitely wouldn't be able to return today." Shui Wuhan laughed. Yi Qinghan smiled and nodded. If he brought Shui Wu again, they really would not be able to return this time. Chapter 12:35. Shui Wu listened to Shui Wuhan's words and was extremely envious. She pouted and was very unhappy. If she followed her lover, she would definitely have a share of this merit. She would also be envied by many border army soldiers. The Shilling army looked at Shui Wuhan excitedly. However, Dong Menxian looked deeply at Yi Qinghan with some disgust and conflict. He felt that Yi Qinghan was threatening his position in the prince's heart and might even shake his position. Military merits were what soldiers wanted the most. Dong Menxian was also the same as a captain. Dong Menxian was a little disappointed. He rewarded Dai Yuxuan with some resources and prepared to let him leave. Yi Qinghan saw through everything calmly. He also saw that Dai Yuxuan wanted to be loyal to Shui Wuhan. He reminded Shui Wuhan and gave him a look. Although Shui Wuhan's strength was not great and he was a little conceited, he was still very smart. He was willing to make use of people who could be used. Dai Yuxuan was a captain after all. In the future, when he fought for the throne, he would have a greater chance with the support of the mid-level experts in the army. "General Dai, thank you so much this time. I will definitely repay you in the future." Shui Wuhan cupped his fist and said. Dai Yuxuan was waiting for this sentence. Although he was excited, he did not show it. He cupped his fist and said, "This is what I should do. I have already accepted the reward and dare not claim any more credit." Dai Yuxuan was also a very smart person. The more he was like this, the more Shui Wuhan liked it. "General Dai, my Snow Scar army is about to be established. I need some captains and reliable border army soldiers. Are you willing to work under me?" Shui Wuhan smiled and asked secretly, "I am willing to fight to the death for the prince." Dai Yuxuan was excited. Following Shui Wuhan was far more promising than following Tai Qingquan. If he became the prince's personal guard, his future would be limitless. Once Shui Wuhan became the emperor, he would at least be a captain. He might even be able to command the army and become a vice commander. Good. Don't tell anyone about it. The Snow Scar army will be established in 3 months at the latest. I will go to the Iron Mountain Guards and ask for them. Your subordinates are not bad. I admire them. Shui Wuhan said calmly. Dai Yuxuan didn't say anything else. He bowed and retreated. His aura was even stronger when he left because he knew that this was an opportunity for their group. If they followed the prince, they would certainly be rich in resources. In the future, their military exploits would also be remembered by the prince. The military exploits in the early stages would certainly belong to the prince. However, the more military exploits they achieved, the greater the chances of Xue Wuhan becoming the emperor. When Xue Wuhan became the emperor, they would naturally be placed in an important position. The Snow Scar Army was the reason why Xue Wuhan and Xue Wu went back some time ago. Now, they were just waiting for the emperor's reply. However, the imperial edict came a little fast. Just after Dong Men-xian reported Xue Wuhan's military exploits to the military, the imperial edict came 3 days later, along with the designation. The Snow Scar Army was officially established. Xue Wuhan was allowed to choose 5,000 people from the various border armies. The rest of the people were transferred from the rear. Most of them were newly promoted border armies. This was already considered preferential treatment. When the other border armies were established, 90% of them were new. The Snow Scar Army only had 50%. When Xue Wuhan received the imperial edict, he was extremely excited. He brought his 1,000-man group and Yi Qinghan to the Iron Mountain Guards immediately. He directly asked Tai Qingquan for the people. Dai Yuxuan's group was the main force of the Iron Mountain Guards. Tai Qingquan's face turned green. However, Xue Wuhan had the emperor's imperial edict. He didn't dare to refuse. He could only watch as Xue Wuhan took away his trusted generals. There were still 4,000 people missing. Xue Wuhan began to sweep through the other border armies. Yi Qinghan had eyes and specifically picked the troops with potential. When the other border armies knew that the Snow Scar Army was established, they all hid their elites. They couldn't refuse Xue Wuhan. At least they couldn't let him see the capable 1,000-man commanders. However, Yi Qinghan didn't want to pick those talented generals. If he wanted his trusted subordinates, he had to train them himself. The Snow Border Army was known as the strongest border army. It had a total of 100,000 people. At this moment, the true elites were all sent out to carry out missions. Only a few experts were not welcomed and stayed in the camp. The great general of the Snow Border Army was an old fox. Xue Qingtian was from the royal family of the Snow Empire. He wasn't afraid of offending Xue Wuhan. At this moment, he was looking at Xue Wuhan with interest. It was as if he was testing him. Yi Qinghan stared at the 50,000 Snow Border Army. He discovered that it wasn't that there weren't any elites or talented generals. They were just hiding among them. He wanted to see Xue Wuhan's ability to recognize people. Maybe he wanted to see if Xue Wuhan could take on a great responsibility and if he had the talent of an emperor. Yi Qinghan's eyes flickered. His gaze was quite aggressive. He stared at the 50,000 Snow Border Army and quickly identified those who had potential and those whose essence had been squeezed dry and could no longer be used. After a long time, he sent a message to Xue Wuhan. The fourth group on the right, the group under the flag. 14 people. All of them are not bad. Take away all the small soldiers who are near Great General Xue Qingtian. Xue Wuhan had a kind of blind trust in Yi Qinghan. Those small soldiers looked very miserable and there was nothing special about them. However, since Yi Qinghan wanted them, he wanted them. According to Yi Qinghan's request, he took all of them. There were about 300 people. Let these 300 people choose 100 people each. These people all have their own trusted and capable subordinates. Yi Qinghan indifferently reminded. Xue Wuhan heard this and said, I just chose 312 people. I believe in your eyes. You all choose 100 people each. These people will be your future teammates. Xue Qingtian originally thought that Xue Wuhan's eyes were a bit sinister. Now Xue Wuhan said to let these people choose for themselves. It was clear how confident he was in his own eyes and how much he trusted these people. Clap, clap, clap. Xue Qingtian clapped his hands and stood up. He laughed and said, Nephew, you really have good eyes. Good courage. You picked out all the elites that Imperial Uncle hid. If I had your courage back then, the throne would not have been given to Imperial Brother. Ah, Imperial Brother now has a good son. I am very happy and jealous. Xue Wuhan was praised by Xue Qingtian and was very excited. He felt that Xue Qingtian would be on his side in the future. This is all because I was trained in the border army and was taught by Imperial Uncle. Otherwise, how could I have such ability? Xue Wuhan smoothly put a big hat on Xue Qingtian's head. Nephew, you really know how to talk. When you return to the imperial court next year, I will definitely praise this good son of mine. Xue Qingtian was really happy. He felt that this child could take on a big responsibility. However, he did not know that this was all because of Yi Qinghan's help in the dark. Imperial Uncle, we are still short of 1,000 people. Please help us again. Give me some more elites and let me also be a chili arch, okay? Xue Wu walked out at this time and said with a smile. Xue Qingtian leaned over and looked at Xue Wu. He was stunned and then asked, "This is Xue Wu?" "That's right, Imperial Uncle, you've forgotten about me. I missed you so much and even brought you some treasures. Divine milk of life, I snatched a tail from my brother. Although it's not much, it's already half of what he had." Xue Wu pouted and acted coquettishly. Divine milk of life was a life-saving medicine. Especially for people on the battlefield, a drop of divine milk of life could save a life, let alone a tail. Xue Qingtian was extremely happy. He directly put down his posture and walked to Xue Wuhan and Xue Wu's side with a face full of smiles. Chapter 12:36. Using one tail of divine milk of life in exchange for 1,000 elite troops was a win-win situation for both sides. This was naturally Yi Qinghan's decision. Otherwise, how could Xue Wu come up with such a method? Moreover, with Xue Wu delivering it, the relationship was the best. Seeing that Xue Qingtian's attitude had changed too much, even taking the initiative to reward Xue Wu with some resources, and even began to mobilize real elites to send to Xue Wu, Xue Wuhan simply admired Yi Qinghan's decision. Yi Qinghan smiled but did not say anything. All the credit was given to this brother and sister. He would slowly develop and erode the power of the Snow Country's divine realm. When the day came, even the Snow Country's kingdom lord would not be able to reverse the situation. Xue Wu offered the divine milk of life, and Xue Qingtian's attitude changed even more. It was as if Xue Wu was his own daughter, and he gave the most powerful giant god under him to Xue Wu. Zhu Wuxin. This person was young, but his cultivation was at the limit of the giant god. He was a military saint with illustrious military achievements. Since joining the Realm Army, he alone killed more than 30,000 Realm Army soldiers of the other side. He led 1,000 troops to participate in more than 100 battles, and all of them were great victories, but the number of casualties was 1% of the enemies. He set up a great formation, trapped the Supreme God, and forced the Supreme God to retreat. This person's military achievements were definitely the strongest in history. What was even more frightening was that he was only 10,000 years old. For the long history of the giant god, he was equivalent to an ordinary 17 or 18-year-old mortal, but he had such military achievements. The Emperor of the Snow Country's divine realm had personally received him. Such an existence did not lose to Yi Qinghan by much. What he lacked was only Yi Qinghan's knowledge. Perhaps his peak combat strength was a little weaker, but this person's ability to lead troops and fight might surpass Yi Qinghan. The moment Yi Qinghan saw Zhu Wuxin come out, he knew that this person was difficult to control, and it was also difficult to make him believe in him, because he was already strong enough. Even though he wasn't an overgod, he was still strong enough to command an entire army of 10,000 soldiers. Zhu Wuxin was 7 feet tall, and he carried a long spear on his back. It was made from the materials of an overgod artifact, and it could automatically upgrade as his cultivation base and bloodline increased. It was just like Di Longtian's heavenly Dao killing sword. Zhu Wuxin's handsome face didn't lose out to Yi Qinghan's. His eyes were filled with determination, and he could steal one's soul. His vigorous aura suppressed those at the same level as him. He was definitely a king. Yi Qinghan did not want this person because he might be able to mess up his plans. But since Xue Qingtian had sent him out, how could Xue Wu Hen refuse? Xue Wu wouldn't do it either. Wow. Thank you, royal uncle. Xue Wu was so excited that she danced with joy. If it wasn't for the prestige of the royal family that forced her to maintain her composure, she would have already pounced on Xue Qingtian. Ah, good niece, I haven't seen you for a few years, and you've already become a big girl. Wuxin is my most capable subordinate, and your divine elixir of life can't exchange for him. But you're my niece, and I can't be at ease without someone protecting you, so I sent him to help you. Don't worry, he'll be on your side in the future, and he won't betray you. Xue Qingtian laughed loudly. Not taking sides at this time didn't mean that he didn't want to show goodwill to a certain prince. Clearly, he was most satisfied with Xue Wuhen's performance, and with the divine elixir of life, he decided to show goodwill to Xue Wuhen. Yi Qinghan secretly smiled. To be able to reach Xue Qingtian's level, it was impossible for him to be a person with a low IQ. His actions disrupted Yi Qinghan's plan. Yi Qinghan indeed didn't expect that he would send such a powerful existence to Xue Wu to protect her. However, the more difficult it was, the more exciting it was, and the more fun it was to play. With Xue Wuhen's team, the Snow Scar Army was officially established, and its members were about a few hundred people. However, as a prince, no one would say anything if there were a few hundred more people in a 10,000-man team. Even if they were the personal guards of a prince, it could be completely explained, not to mention that this team also had Xue Wu, the favored princess. Xue Qingtian didn't leave Xue Wuhen and Xue Wu to eat or chat, and sent them off. Yi Qinghan and Xue Wuhen led the 10,000-man team to Qingliang Mountain. This was the place where the Snow Scar Army was stationed. Previously, it was also a very powerful army that had a designation bestowed by the emperor, so the border army on the other side naturally wouldn't be bad. After Xue Wuhen led the army to set up camp, he quickly built a camp. He was not in a hurry to attack, but they were familiar with each other. To cooperate with each other to attack, this required very tacit cooperation. Soon, Xue Wuhen divided the army into two parts. Two vice-domain chiefs, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuexin, became vice-domain chiefs. For a strong person like Zhu Wuexin, no one in the border army refuted, and no one was dissatisfied. However, Yi Qinghan had just arrived at the border army, and he had only made one contribution, and he had already become a vice-domain chief, which obviously caused some of the Kiliarchs to be dissatisfied. However, with Xue Wuhen in charge, no one dared to behave atrociously. Although they were dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan, they could only suppress it in their hearts. On the training ground, many Kiliarchs began to find trouble with Yi Qinghan. They rejected his orders and found all sorts of reasons to refute. They wanted to embarrass Yi Qinghan in public and put him on the spot. But what kind of person was Yi Qinghan? Perhaps he was not as good as Zhu Wuexin in leading troops to war, but to deal with such a small character, even 10 Kiliarchs together could not beat him. Soon, Yi Qinghan had those Kiliarchs who were dissatisfied with him lead their own 1,000-man brigades to fight against him. In such a large mountain range, the two brigades were almost in actual combat, and there was a possibility of death. However, Yi Qinghan was strong enough, and it did not take long for them to scatter and defeat them one by one. Even their Kiliarchs were captured alive, and only a few of his own men were injured. After teaching 5 Kiliarchs a lesson in a row, Yi Qinghan's border army finally calmed down and did not dare to provoke him again. After subduing the Kiliarchs, the soldiers under him also became much more obedient. Yi Qinghan's strength and ability to lead troops to war attracted Zhu Wuexin's attention, and there was a bit of light in his eyes. After all, not everyone could continuously capture a 1,000-man brigade, and Yi Qinghan had done it 5 times. He himself might not be able to do it to this extent. Xue Wu had a new target to observe, and finally no longer bothered Yi Qinghan, which saved her a lot of trouble. Soon, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuexin began to fight, cultivating the cooperation and offensive lethality of the various border army teams. The two of them were top-notch geniuses. One was good at leading troops to battle, the other was good at charging and breaking through enemy lines. Each had their own strengths. In the early stages, Yi Qinghan was suppressed, but in the later stages, he broke out and continuously defeated the troops led by Zhu Wuexin. In the 5 battles, each had their own victory and defeat, but Yi Qinghan lost 3 times, and Zhu Wuexin lost 2 times. However, this did not affect Yi Qinghan's position in Xue Wuhen's heart, because he knew that Yi Qinghan did not use his full strength at all, and did not want to injure people, so each had their own victory and defeat. If Yi Qinghan used the battle strength he had that day in the ultimate martial realm, it was estimated that even Zhu Wuexin, the leader, would be killed by him, and those troops would not be able to withstand a single blow. The two of you will become my left and right arms. One is good at leading troops, the other is good at charging. My Snow Scar army will definitely rise to fame, and become the strongest border army in the Snow Country Divine Realm, Xue Wuhen said excitedly. Chapter 1237. In less than half a month after the establishment of the Snow Scar Army, the ultimate martial realm's Realm Army received the news. The other party took advantage of the fact that the Snow Scar Army had not yet formed, and was prepared to take them down in one fell swoop, annihilating a large group of 10,000 men and Prince Xue Wuhen. On the other side, the Sky Wolf Army and the Amber Army had joined forces. The two supreme gods were preparing to cross the border river and attack the Snow Scar Army at night. They wanted to kill the 10,000-strong army and capture Xue Wuhen alive. They wanted to make Xue Wuhen the joke of the Snow Nation's God Realm and suppress the arrogance of the Snow Nation's God Realm army. However, they didn't know that this small army of 10,000 had the military Saint Zhu Wuxin and the extremely powerful Yi Qinghan. In less than half a month, the Snow Scar Army had been trained by the two into an orderly and powerful army. They cooperated with each other seamlessly and had abundant resources. This 10,000-strong army might not be the strongest army in the Snow Country Divine Realm, but it was definitely not bad. The Sky Wolf Army and the Amber Army formed a suicide squad of about 1,000 people. They were all people with high cultivation and no background. They could only choose to risk their lives for resources. As long as they could reach the Snow Country Divine Realm, they could get the position of a centurion or even a chiliarch. The resources they could get were enough for them to advance a small realm. The suicide squad was slowly approaching. The night here was especially dark, and the spiritual sense could not reach more than 100 meters. The water of the border river was poisonous, so the border army was stationed about 10 li away from the border river to cushion the spread of the poison. There were 10 people patrolling the border river. Every half an hour, they would change people to prevent the poison from entering the soul. The border river was turbulent and surging. The iron chains trembled slightly like a gust of wind. No one knew that a strong enemy was coming. Boom boom boom. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The border river surged. The 10 strong border army soldiers looked at the other side. Unfortunately, their vision was blocked and they couldn't see anything more than 10 meters away. In the camp, the army was resting. Yi Qinghan was sitting cross-legged in the room to cultivate his divine sense. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and looked towards the border river. Shua, Yi Qinghan got up and left the room, walking towards the border river. The camp was about 15 li away from the border river, but every 1 li there was a watchtower with 10 people stationed there. Who is it? As soon as Yi Qinghan appeared, the realm army immediately reacted. It's me, Vice Domain Chief Suofeng, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Greetings, Deputy Domain Chief. Everyone, continue your training. Stay alert. Yi Qinghan reminded him and continued walking in the direction of the border river. The more he walked, the more uneasy he felt, as if something big was about to happen. Everyone, stay alert and keep quiet. Pass down my order. The Snow Scar Army is approaching from the rear. Yi Qinghan ordered the border army on the observation deck. The captain of the 10-man squad on the observation deck replied in a low voice. Soon after, the rear received a response. The large army advanced quietly, approaching the border river. Tap tap tap, Zhu Wuxin personally led a large group of 1,000 personal guards towards the border river and ordered them to hide on the shore. Then, he found Yi Qinghan, who was standing beside the watchtower, and asked in a low voice, Daoist Suofeng, what happened? What did you sense? Yi Qinghan asked in return. I sense danger approaching. The environment tonight is bad, and the cold wind carries killing intent. Perhaps it's an enemy attack? Zhu Wuxin said in a low voice. I think so too. Let's wait quietly. If there really is an enemy attack, it will probably be at midnight. Yi Qinghan said calmly. About 300 meters away from the border river, Zhu Wuxin's personal guards took out their realm-opening crossbows and lay on the slope, looking at the entrance of the border river. Go and call the 10 guards back. If there is an enemy attack, let them all enter the border river first. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and decided to save the lives of these 10 people. He said to the captain on the observation deck. Soon, the 10 people were called back. The border river passage was empty. There were no guards at all. It was as if the defense was scattered and the soldiers were not well trained. The Suicide Squad of the Amber Army and the Heavenly Wolf Army was approaching the Snow Country's god realm. However, they stopped when they were less than 1,000 meters away. It was not completely dark yet. Everyone had to wait for a suitable time to attack. At this moment, whoever was more patient would be on the winning side. If the Snow Scar Army let down their guard in the middle of the night, the Heavenly Wolf Army and the Amber Army could easily take over a mountain peak and use it as a defense. They could delay until the other two armies entered the Snow Country's god realm. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin were both very patient people. At this moment, they were not in a hurry and just waited quietly. Time passed and midnight arrived. The Suicide Squad finally started to move forward. When they reached the exit, they did not see any guards. They were surprised and thought that the Snow Scar Army had just been established and was more relaxed. They immediately put down their crossbows in surprise. However, they were very cautious. The leader waved his hand and signaled for a small team to cross over and occupy the advantageous terrain. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 100-man team crossed the iron chain and entered the other side. They occupied a hill as a barrier. The Snow Scar Army still did not attack. After confirming that it was safe, the remaining 900 people all rushed over. However, at this moment, flames suddenly shot up into the sky and arrow light shot in all directions. Yi Qinghan activated the fire element to illuminate the sky. Zhu Wuxin's personal guards rained down arrows. The 2,000-man troops rushed over from the rear and attacked from both sides. Arrows blotted out the sky and covered the earth, covering everything in front of them. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, boom, boom. The hill was blown away and screams could be heard. More than 100 people from the Suicide Squad were killed in an instant. Whoosh. A long flaming dragon swept into the group of Suicide Squad. The fire element spiritual substance could not extinguish it. It would burn with a touch. Retreat. The hill was flattened. There was no way to hide or rush over. If they did not retreat, they would die. However, was there still a chance to retreat? Yi Qinghan personally led a small team to the bank of the border river and violently attacked the border river. The water of the border river soared into the sky and covered the iron chains. Anyone who dared to step onto the bridge would be eroded and killed by the river water. In the blink of an eye, less than 300 people from the Suicide Squad were left. "Brothers, follow me and kill." The leader was furious. He led the remaining 300 people and rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan held his long sword and rushed into the crowd. His long sword was invincible as it danced in the crowd. No one could resist it. The 300 people were quickly scattered by Yi Qinghan. The Snow Scar Army killed them one by one and even captured them alive. The 1,000-man team was completely wiped out. No one managed to escape. The Snow Scar Army had been established for less than a month and had achieved a great victory. It caused a sensation in the border army. Xue Qingtian personally came to congratulate them and sent a large amount of resources as a reward. Suddenly, the Snow Scar Army became famous. It spread to the Snow Country and the realm of the gods. Yi Qinghan and Xue Wuhan didn't take any credit for themselves. Xue Wuhan took all the credit. After receiving the emperor's reward, Xue Wuhan was like the sun in the sky, suppressing the other princes. Chapter 12:38. As Xue Wuhan's prestige grew stronger and stronger, Yi Qinghan decided to make him the crown prince himself. Strike while the iron is hot. I suggest that we ambush the enemy's army. If we can take the head of an overgod, I believe that His Majesty will realize the prince's ability. Who will be able to compete with him in the future? Yi Qinghan suggested. Xue Wuhan was extremely excited. The crown prince was about to be crowned. If they didn't take the credit now, it would be too late next time. Alright, there's still a year before the crown prince is crowned. When we return, we'll present the head of an ultimate martial realm's major general. Father will definitely be pleased, Xue Wuhan said excitedly. It won't be easy to take down an overgod. I don't recommend taking the risk. Zhu Wuxin was cautious. He didn't want to fight a battle he wasn't confident in, so he naturally didn't want to take the risk. I don't think so. I think that not only should we take the lead, but the prince should also participate in this battle. Only then will we be able to maximize our accomplishments. Yi Qinghan said firmly. Zhu Wuxin was stunned. He frowned and said, "Are you crazy? If we put the prince in danger and the enemy sends a overgod to help, we won't be able to escape." Although Xue Wuhan wanted to contribute, he didn't want to take the risk. He was hesitant. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "How can we catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den? The enemy is the Amber Army. The closest army to the Amber Army is the Sky Wolf Army, 15,000 kilometers away. Even if they receive the signal, it will take them 6 hours to send reinforcements. We should try to finish the battle in 2 hours. Once the Amber Army is crippled, we can retreat. Even an overgod can't send reinforcements alone, let alone other armies. What about the Southwest Jingwu Army? If they arrive just in time, we won't have a chance to retreat either," Zhu Wuxin said coldly. "I believe that the Snow Army will be willing to help us delay the Southwest Jingwu Army. As long as we take down the Amber Army, we can return victorious. The prince will definitely be crowned Crown Prince," Yi Qinghan said firmly. Yi Qinghan was even more eager than Xue Wuhan to get into the Sagely city. As long as Xue Wuhan could secure his position as Crown Prince, he could return to the Crown Prince's palace and work on his cultivation. Thanks to the resources provided by the Crown Prince, he could become a paramount god. Of course, he could also use his fire element, ice element, and fleshly body to reach the peak of the paramount god level. If the prince is in danger, neither you nor I can bear the responsibility, Zhu Wuxin reminded in a low voice. So unconfident? Everyone says that you're a military saint. Why can't I tell? Yi Qinghan asked calmly. Zhu Wuxin frowned. He was indeed a top-notch commander, but he lacked the courage to take risks. He didn't like to take risks. This was both a strength and a weakness. Now that he had been provoked by Yi Qinghan, he was a little angry. Let's divide the work. Everyone has their own responsibilities. I'm going to fight this battle. Overgod, the army of 10,000 will be divided into 2 groups. Each of us will fight one group. You choose first. Since the 2 of you are so confident, how can I not fight? I'll send a message to my royal uncle and ask him to help pin down the proper martial army. Xue Wuhan's confidence was boosted, and he decided to take the risk and fight. The death squads that the Hupa Army and the Sky Wolf Army had stopped suffered heavy losses. They had no choice but to stop the plan and spread out to defend their own territories. However, they didn't expect that the Snow Scar Army would counterattack the next day. The next day, Xue Wuhan contacted Xue Qingtian. With Xue Qingtian's support, the 2 armies stopped each other from attacking the other on the second night. In the Snow Scar Army, Yi Qinghan led 5 large groups of Kiliarchs and 300 squads to form a death squad. They were the first to sneak into the ultimate martial realm. A strong wind blew, and the iron chains let out a screeching sound. Yi Qinghan and the 300 death squads quickly rushed to the other side of the river. They stopped when they were only 300 meters away from the bridgehead. Kiliarchs, follow me. Yi Qinghan took the lead, and the 5 Kiliarchs felt that they had followed the right person. Not only was Yi Qinghan strong, but he was also at the front every time. He was much more competent than the other Kiliarchs. 6 experts quietly approached the patrol squad. There were also 10 of them, and the 10 of them were only 10 meters away from each other. They could attack or retreat. Yi Qinghan's bracelet turned into a blood-red dagger, and his battle robe disappeared. His black clothes disappeared like a ghost on the iron chains. Puqi Yi Qinghan first launched a soul attack, and then grabbed the mouth of a patrolling soldier. The dagger pierced through his throat without making any sound. Shua. Yi Qinghan put down the corpse and did the same thing, approaching the second person. After all, he was at the limit of the giant god level. These ordinary soldiers were at most at the giant god level. Even if they were kings, they couldn't compete with Yi Qinghan. Under a sneak attack, no one could resist, and they didn't even have the chance to counterattack. The 10 soldiers were killed by Yi Qinghan in a short time. After taking over the first checkpoint, Yi Qinghan released his divine sense and found that the Amber Army wasn't defending. They were just in their usual defensive state. There was only one watchtower, and each watchtower was manned by 10 people. At this moment, a group of people was preparing to take over. 5 Kiliarchs, bring 5 centurions over and change into the enemy's armor. Yi Qinghan quickly ordered. Soon, the 5 Kiliarchs brought 5 centurions over and changed into the enemy's armor, waiting for the enemy to take over. It's time to take over. Brothers, you've worked hard. The 10-man team arrived at the scene. Just as they approached the Chiliarch, 10 rays of sword light pierced through their throats. Yi Qinghan's divine power poured out and enveloped the area, silencing all sound. The 10 corpses fell to the ground. Bring 10 more people to change into the enemy's armor. We'll go and take out the watchtowers in front. The suicide squad quickly moved forward. After changing into the enemy's armor, the 5 Kiliarchs and centurions approached the first watchtower under Yi Qinghan's lead. It's time to take over. Brothers, you've worked hard, Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. You guys weren't late this time. It's a miracle. The captain on the watchtower grumbled and brought his subordinates to land below the watchtower. Yi Qinghan's bracelet turned into a dagger and killed the leader in one move. The other Kiliarchs and centurions quickly killed the ordinary guards. The first watchtower was taken down, and the suicide squad at the back caught up. They changed into the enemy's armor and waited for the enemy to take over. In 2 hours, Yi Qinghan had taken over 5 watchtowers and killed more than 200 guards. Almost all of the suicide squad had changed into the enemy's armor, and the army at the back was quickly approaching the ultimate martial realm. Zero Dawn had completely dimmed down. Zhu Wuxin led the army into the ultimate martial realm and found that Yi Qinghan had already taken care of everything. He couldn't help but groan. Yi Qinghan led the suicide squad into the enemy's army and wantonly assassinated the army that was resting. In a short hour, the 300 of them killed more than 1,000 people. Yi Qinghan alone killed nearly 500 realm army experts. However, the smell of blood quickly attracted the attention of the commander of the Amber Army. What's going on? Where did the smell of blood come from? The commander roared in a low voice, waking everyone up. The army quickly gathered. After checking, they found that they had lost nearly 2,000 people. 5 watchtowers, 3 shifts, nearly 300 realm army experts had died. Yi Qinghan led the suicide squad to assassinate more than 1,000 people in the camp. Yesterday, their suicide squad had lost another few hundred people. In the past 2 days, they had lost nearly 3,000 people. The 7,000 soldiers' hair stood on end. They knew that someone had infiltrated the army. Kiliarchs, gather. Check your own troops. Whoever dares to move, kill without mercy. The commander was furious. He released his divine sense and locked onto the 7,000 people. No one dared to move. They could only wait for orders. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan exploded. With a sweep of his blade, he was unstoppable. A large number of the realm army who were standing in place waiting to be checked died in an instant. The Amber Army fell into chaos. The 300 suicide squad attacked like crazy. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Zhu Wuxin led the army to kill. The crossbow bolts took the lead and killed a large number of realm army experts. The commander was caught off guard. Chapter 1239. Just as Yi Qinghan was leading the Snow Scar army into battle, the Snow Realm army mobilized tens of thousands of soldiers to surround the Righteous army. It was like a proper battle. The Righteous army couldn't even protect themselves, let alone provide reinforcements. The Amber army was even more miserable. Before the battle even began, Yi Qinghan had already killed nearly 2,000 of them. Zhu Wuxin arrived and fired randomly. The army on the outside was pierced by arrows and suffered heavy casualties. Bush, bush, boom, bush, that. The paramount god was truly enraged. He no longer cared about the ordinary realm army soldiers and charged forward, wanting to kill Yi Qinghan. Boom. The origin power of heaven and earth stirred restlessly as a palm that blotted out the sun slammed down viciously. It was as if doomsday had arrived as the palm headed straight for Yi Qinghan. Bush, bush, bush. The sky collapsed as the 5-fingered palm arrived above Yi Qinghan in the blink of an eye. Bush, boom. Yi Qinghan swung his blade to meet the attack. His veins bulged as he unleashed his full power. Apart from the Great Desolate Force and the Great Desolate Tao Body, he used everything else he could. Boom! Saber energy and primal chaos divine power converged, accompanied by spiritual essence divine power. With his unparalleled physical body and cultivation base at the limit of a giant god, he forcefully withstood the supreme god's attack. The two powerful attacks collided, and the shock waves shattered the galaxy. The aftershocks sent the Suicide Squad and a large number of the Amber Army flying, causing them to cough up blood. Boom! Yi Qinghan managed to shatter the gigantic palm print, but his body was smashed into the ground. Rocks crumbled as blood splattered across the mountains and rivers. The Paramount God's expression froze. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to block his furious attack. He also did not expect Yi Qinghan to shatter his attack and force him to retreat several steps. "Brat, you're courting death. I'll fulfill your wish." Murderous intent flashed across the commander's eyes. A divine sword appeared in his hand, emitting a long rainbow that illuminated the world. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan slammed his palm into the ground, then shot up to the surface and flew through the air, maintaining some distance between them. Although he couldn't use the power of the Great Desolates, he could use it to protect himself. He was still a paramount god, so it was impossible for his opponent to kill him. "Really? We'll talk about this again if you can escape from here today," Yi Qinghan said coldly. Buzz, buzz, heavy, heavy, and heavy. Even the great Tao of the heavens itself began to tremble. Clearly, heavy madness was now an overgod artifact, and with the support of the great wilderness god Pearl, it was even more terrifying than most overgod artifacts. "Then let's try." The commander of the Hoopa army snorted coldly. The sword chi emanating from his sharp sword spread out and transformed into a ray of light. Thousands of sword shadows surrounded Yi Qinghan. Buzz, buzz. The sword energy was swift and fierce, able to shatter mountain rocks from a distance. There were actually no more realm army within a radius of 10 li, all of them fleeing. No one dared to fight back. But Yi Qinghan dared to. His body transformed into a bolt of lightning as he merged with the little chaos beast. His realm lord divine sense was fully unleashed, and the speed of the paramount god seemed somewhat inferior. They could not hit him at all. Buzz, buzz. Yi Qinghan weaved through the gaps between the sword chi with ease. Occasionally he would counterattack, and if he really couldn't dodge, he would take it head-on. However, since he couldn't use the power of the Great Desolate Realm, he would be sent flying every time, but it didn't cause him any substantial damage. Boom! Yi Qinghan was incredibly domineering as he slashed out again and again. Even the paramount gods would have to retreat if they tried to forcefully receive his attacks. If you don't want to be attacked, then take the initiative to attack. That was the best defense. Xue Wuhan and Xue Wu's blood boiled. They felt that this battle power was too terrifying, and it also spurred on the Snow Scar Army's battle power. 10,000 people against 4,000 people, and with Xue Wuhan's command, killing them was as easy as blowing off dust. In an instant, the Amber Army was at a disadvantage. Without the supreme gods to stop them, they were doomed. Kill! Battle cries shook the heavens as the Snow Scar Army's morale soared. Xue Wuhan led the charge under the protection of a few limit giant god realm masters, and he was in high spirits. Zhu Wuxin protected Xue Wu and also charged into the crowd. The title of military saint was definitely not fake. To be able to reach this step from being a poor commoner who didn't have some true ability. How could he reach the position of Chiliarch and even gain the favor of the Prince over God? Buzz. Yi Qinghan blocked the paramount gods while the Snow Scar Army killed to their heart's content. An hour later, less than half of the Amber Army was left, and they were all heavily injured. If they did not receive any reinforcements, they would definitely be wiped out. Unfortunately, the Sky Wolf Army was too far away, and the Righteous Martial Army was surrounded by the Snow Realm Army. Several paramount gods were rushing in the distance, wanting to help the Amber Army. They even took the risk of flying in the air, but the space above them was extremely dangerous. Not only was there poisonous gas, but there was also spatial energy. The space here was extremely unstable, and the astral winds were enough to tear apart the paramount god's defenses. Flying at a low altitude and being blocked by a large number of mountains greatly affected their speed. Let's end this quickly. Yi Qinghan was suppressed and could only growl in hopes of receiving reinforcements. Give me the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Zhu Wuxin roared and had a few personal guards protect Xuewu. He began to mobilize the personal guard army to encircle and annihilate them. In a split second, blood flowed like a river, rushing into the border river. At this time, numbers and fighting spirit played a key role. The Snow Scar army had almost no casualties, but the enemy had less than 2,000 people left. Almost all of them were fighting in groups of 3 to 5. The Amber army didn't even last for the time it took to burn a stick of incense before they were almost completely wiped out. The remaining 200 to 300 people were captured. At this time, Heartless' personal guards were freed up. Under Heartless' lead, they rushed over. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The 1,000-man army suddenly changed positions. Clearly, they were using this formation very frequently. They had once used this formation to kill a paramount god. This time, with Yi Qinghan's help, it would be difficult for the Amber Army's commander to escape. Boom! The rest of the Snow Scar army blocked the perimeter, constantly harassing the paramount gods. The Amber Army's commander finally panicked. Just Yi Qinghan alone was enough to keep him occupied for so long. Paramount gods were not omnipotent, and killing other realm army soldiers was like playing with fire. However, once the enemy's numbers reached the level of 10,000, it would be very difficult for them to deal any damage. Moreover, there was still the military Saint Zhu Wuxin, who was the most wanted criminal in the ultimate martial realm. His head was even more valuable than a paramount god's head. Now that there was another Yi Qinghan, he was definitely no match for them. Chapter 1240. I'm going to destroy you all. The commander roared at the sky, his veins bulging. Suddenly his body flashed and split into two. Two identical commanders appeared. I'll let you experience my new ultimate spirit separation technique. Swoosh swoosh. The two figures spoke at the same time, but they were doing different things. One charged at the army, while the other charged at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He was a realm lord, but he had never seen this kind of martial art before. To be able to split a person into two, the person who created this kind of mental cultivation method was truly a genius. This was a real person with flesh and blood. Even their souls were separated. Good technique. My blood drop clone can only inherit a strand of my will and cannot cultivate it. It's the same for the other realm lords. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He raised his sword and attacked again. After a few clashes, he realized that the commander's strength had decreased significantly. At most, he was only slightly stronger than himself. The commander had underestimated both Zhu Wuxin and Yi Qinghan. After using the spirit separation technique, not only did he fail to break through the Snow Scar army's defense, but he was also at a disadvantage. One of his clones was quickly killed by the 10,000 Snow Scar army soldiers. Only the other half was still fighting Yi Qinghan. I want to capture him alive. It'll be of great use. Yi Qinghan said excitedly. As you wish. Zhu Wuxin's deep voice exploded. He flipped his hand, and the 5,000 soldiers under him all moved. Spiritual power poured out, and ice power froze everything within 100 miles, enveloping Yi Qinghan and the commander. Leave the barrier. I'll freeze him, Zhu Wuxin said proudly. The commander was shocked. He didn't expect Zhu Wuxin's formation to be so powerful. It increased the strength of the army by several times. Even a supreme god couldn't shake it. Yi Qinghan fiercely attacked and sent the commander flying. He took the opportunity to leave and get close to the barrier. The cold aura seemed to be able to freeze souls. Fortunately, his soul was strong enough. The Snow Scar army made a path for him, and he escaped in a panic. Compress the space. Zhu Wuxin said. Lower the temperature. Increase the ice spirit power. Yi Qinghan led his 5,000 elite soldiers and began to inject ice-type divine power into the barrier. The temperature inside was instantly high enough to freeze space and time, and the space inside was constantly shrinking. The Amber Commander fled in all directions, pouring out his supreme divine power in an attempt to tear the barrier apart, but he couldn't shake the barrier of 10,000 soldiers at all. The governor roared. A layer of frost appeared on his body. His chi and blood stagnated, and his speed became slower and slower. Boom! Boom! After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the space was compressed to less than 100 meters. The Amber Commander's range of free movement was even smaller. He didn't dare to approach the barrier at all because it was too cold. It could freeze one's soul. Kakaka. Space continued to shatter. After being frozen, there was no way for it to be stable at all. With a single attack from an overgod, it shattered. Whooshed at the army completely froze the governor-general and captured a supreme god alive. Shui Wuhan was so excited that his face turned red. He shouted happily, "Quick, send a signal to inform royal uncle to retreat. We should retreat too." After getting such a big advantage and killing so many realm army soldiers, when the ultimate martial realm reacted, there would definitely be bloody revenge. If they didn't escape now, they would die miserably. Yi Qinghan took away the frozen governor-general. The army retreated in an orderly manner. Shui Wuhan and Shui Wu were definitely in the same line as they quickly rushed to the other side. Whooshed at the signal to retreat rushed into the sky. The Snow Realm army that was tens of thousands of miles away received the signal and no longer entangled with them. They directly gave the order to retreat. The Jingwu army suffered heavy casualties and was almost crippled. They could only let them retreat. In less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the Snow Scar army carried the bodies of the Amber army soldiers and escorted the captives out of the territory of the ultimate martial realm. Yi Qinghan walked at the back. Looking at the frozen Amber Commander, he was even more excited. As long as he could master the Extreme Way Soul Division technique, many things could be easily solved. That night, the Snow Scar army returned to the Snow Empire's God realm. This great victory was quickly reported to the Snow Empire's holy city. The emperor was very happy. The next day, he issued a decree through the military headquarters, ordering Shui Wuhan to lead the Snow Scar army back to the holy city to receive the reward. Obviously, it was not easy to destroy an elite realm army in one go. This great victory was the first great victory in tens of thousands of years. Yi Qinghan looked at the imperial decree and knew that his plan this time was not in vain. He even obtained the secret technique of the Extreme Way Soul Division technique. It could be considered a great harvest. Yi Qinghan suppressed the joy in his heart and rescued the Amber Commander from the frozen state. However, his strength was sealed. The Amber Commander's eyes were filled with fear. He did not even dare to show anger. As a supreme god, who would want to die? As long as he did not die, he could enjoy an endless lifespan. If he died, he would have nothing. "Don't kill me. I can agree to any condition you have." The commander hurriedly begged. "Tell me the secret technique of the Extreme Way Soul Division technique." "Did you really create it yourself?" Yi Qinghan asked curiously. "I did not create it. I picked it up by accident." The commander immediately told the truth and said respectfully, "Master, the secret technique is in my sea of consciousness. You can take it yourself. This little one will not resist." In the face of death, the supreme gods were always more afraid of death than the giant gods. Because there were not many supreme gods and they had almost no natural enemies, they did not want to die. Yi Qinghan was surprised. This secret technique definitely did not exist in the past. Who on earth had created such a powerful divine technique? Then, Yi Qinghan's consciousness entered the commander's sea of consciousness and found that the divine technique was not called the Extreme Way Soul Division technique at all, but the sky-splitting technique. It was very mysterious and difficult to understand. The Extreme Way Soul Division technique was just a derivation of it. The true essence had not been comprehended. Otherwise, the commander's strength would have been far beyond the Supreme God realm. It would have been very easy for him to reach the peak of the Supreme God realm. The sky-splitting technique, as the name implied, could even split the sky. The 9 worlds heaven. That was how the 9 worlds were separated. Yi Qinghan carefully went through the memories and copied the secret technique into his sea of consciousness. He quickly deduced that this secret technique was not a secret technique of the Nine Worlds Heaven at all, but from outside the Nine Worlds Heaven. It was created by the person who spun the roulette and spread throughout the Nine Worlds Heaven. How lonely and bored must you be to do such an arrogant thing? Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he sneered. Back then, you were afraid of me, so you tried to kill me. Now that you're bored, you're looking for excitement. You still think you're infallible. What a fucking bitch. Since you like to play so much, I'll play with you to the end. No, this person is narrow-minded. He wouldn't have taken the initiative to drop such a secret technique into the mortal world and let others surpass him. Could it be that he accidentally dropped it when his strength was greatly damaged in the last battle? Yi Qinghan thought to himself, then asked, what about the sky-splitting technique's stone tablet? It shattered. After I memorized all the secret techniques, it shattered. However, I couldn't understand many of them. I only understood the extreme Wei Soul division technique. I didn't understand the rest. The commander smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan began to frantically copy the secret technique, including the commander's own secret technique. The more he comprehended the sky-splitting technique, the more he felt that the person who spun the roulette was powerful. His understanding of the secret technique had reached the peak and was irreplaceable. However, he had a fatal flaw, which was that he had merged his soul into the Nine Worlds Heaven. Once the Nine Worlds Heaven was damaged, he would be severely injured. However, to completely kill or defeat him was equivalent to destroying the Nine Worlds Heaven. This restricted the people in the Nine Worlds Heaven. If they wanted to win, both sides would have to suffer. An advantage was a disadvantage, and a disadvantage was also an advantage. The person who spun the roulette, how on earth did you cultivate to this level? Yi Qinghan stopped comprehending the secret technique. This kind of secret technique couldn't be comprehended overnight. It required a lot of time. This time, after returning to the holy city of the Snow Empire, he didn't go out again. Instead, he cultivated in peace and advanced his spiritual essence and divine power to the supreme God realm. He placed a restriction on the commander's soul. Once the realm master's soul was released, he wouldn't even have the chance to resist. However, he didn't dare to resist because he didn't want to die. The next day, the Snow Scar army was replaced by the Snow Empire army. Xue Wuhan led 10 Kiliarchs, Yi Qinghan, Zhu Wuxin, Xue Wu, and 100 personal guards to leave the encampment. They traveled a long distance and rushed to the northwest city. Chapter 1241. In the northwest city, the super long-distance gate had been prepared for Xue Wuhan, a total of 15 people. The Snow Scar army had also retreated outside the northwest city. The 15 people took the gate and went straight to the holy city. In the holy city, many princes knew that Xue Wuhan was going to return in triumph and was summoned by the emperor. They were all hostile and disgusted. They all gathered the ministers and relatives to discuss how to deal with Xue Wuhan. The 4th prince, the 6th prince, the 7th prince, and the 9th prince had the most intense reactions. The 4 of them were the most talented, the strongest, and had the most supporters. They were even more favored than Xue Wuhan. They were the strongest candidates for the crown prince position. The 4th prince had always considered himself as the crown prince. His grandfather was the sect master of the Snow Empire's divine world's largest divine sect. His uncle was an assistant minister of the imperial court, and his mother was the most favored imperial concubine. Furthermore, the 4th prince himself had the support of several world armies' legion commanders. In terms of fighting for the position of crown prince, he had the greatest chance. If not for Xue Wuhan suddenly killing his way out and actually killing an army of 10,000 from the ultimate martial world in one night, the 4th prince would not even put him in his eyes. The 6th prince had the support of the world's #1 financial group. His grandfather was the head of the financial group, and he had quite a few supreme gods under him. He was friends with all the major city lords, and even the emperor had to bow when he saw the 6th prince's grandfather. His grandfather, on the other hand, didn't need to bow to anyone except the realm lord. His uncle was the finance minister and controlled the fate of the empire. The 6th prince used the financial group to bribe some army commanders and even more Kiliarchs. This person was the sixth prince's biggest opponent. The seventh prince was much older than Shui Wuheng. He also relied on military merits to get to the throne and was deeply favored by the emperor. The military strength was very strong. After all these years of self-cultivation, he returned to the imperial court with extraordinary abilities. Although he didn't have the support of powerful relatives, he didn't lose to the fourth and sixth princes. The emperor favored the seventh prince more to balance the strength of the princes. The ninth prince was deep and didn't reveal his thoughts. He had always been in control of the imperial guards of the holy city. He seemed to be aloof from worldly affairs, but secretly he had been forming factions and showing favor to some middle-level ministers. In the holy city, he had the most power and several supreme gods under him. Now, with the addition of the 18th prince, Shui Wuheng, and the support of Princess Shui Wu, and with such a great contribution, everyone felt the pressure. The annual celebration would be the day of the crown prince's appointment. His Majesty the Emperor was about to go into seclusion to cultivate. If he didn't have the intention of appointing Shui Wuheng as the crown prince, he wouldn't have allowed him to return to the sacred city at this time. The fourth prince's palace covered an area of nearly 100 hectares. It looked majestic and grand, but it didn't look luxurious at all. It was heavily guarded, with high officials and nobles constantly entering. Inside the palace, the fourth prince, who was in his 30s, had a dignified look on his face. He was resolute and vigorous, emanating an aura of superiority as he looked down. Sitting on either side of him were more than 30 courtiers and his trusted aides. All of them held great power or were scheming people. Shui Wuheng, this dark horse, suddenly appeared, which made me very uneasy. The key point is that he could actually destroy the ultimate martial realm's 10,000-strong realm army. This is not an ordinary army. I heard that even the supreme gods were captured alive. Father is very happy. Everyone, tell me, how should I deal with this? The fourth prince's voice was deep and powerful, extremely magnetic. Your Highness fourth prince, according to the news from the front line, this matter wasn't done by the 18th prince at all. I heard that he has an extremely ruthless trusted aide by his side called Zuofeng. When he entered the realm army's examination for the first time, he brought the 18th prince alone into the ultimate martial realm and killed several disciples and deacons of the ultimate martial sect. He also escaped from the encirclement of several supreme gods. This matter has already made His Majesty very happy. And this time, the operation to destroy the Amber Army was planned by Zuofeng and supported by the military saint, Zhu Wuxin, so it was inevitable that it would succeed. However, all the credit was taken by the 18th prince, but His Majesty didn't care. He only saw the credit, but didn't look at the essence. I think the 18th prince won't be able to withstand a single blow. An old man stood out and quickly analyzed the situation. He spoke of Shui Wuheng's situation. The advantage was the disadvantage. As long as Zuofeng and Zhu Wuxin were taken down, Shui Wuheng would immediately be beaten back to his original state. Zuofeng? Zhu Wuxin? Of course I know this Zhu Wuxin. He is one of Royal Uncle's trusted subordinates. He is known as the military saint. Since he joined the border army, he has made countless contributions. He has won every battle and has never been defeated. I did not expect Royal Uncle to be willing to give him away. What benefits did Shui Wuheng give him? The fourth prince frowned. He was very unwilling. One Zhu Wuxin was hard enough to deal with, and now there was another Zuofeng. What is the background of this Zuofeng? Have you investigated clearly? The fourth prince asked in a deep voice. Your Highness, we have investigated clearly. He is a disciple of Cloud Zhonghai in the city amongst the clouds. Cloud Zhonghai insisted that Zuofeng is his disciple and that he is an orphan. I have sent people to ask all the major forces in the city amongst the clouds. They all testified that Zuofeng is indeed a disciple of Cloud Zhonghai. It seems that there is no mistake. It is just that I did not expect a small place like the city amongst the clouds to have such a ruthless character. Another big man stood up and replied, I will think of a way to subdue Zhu Wuxin. I will personally contact Royal Uncle and exchange resources for Zhu Wuxin. Maybe he will agree. As for Zuofeng, who will deal with him? It would be best if you can subdue him. If not, let the people of heaven kill him. The fourth prince said firmly, "Leave this matter to me. I heard that this person is a cultivation maniac. He likes beauties, but he likes the best in the world. This is the information I got from the fragrant pavilion in the city amongst the clouds. It should not be wrong." That big man quickly said, "Mr. Li Zheng, I will leave this matter to you. If you can subdue this subordinate, the position of crown prince will be mine. No matter what he asks for, I will agree. I have plenty of resources and secret techniques for him to cultivate. As for beauties, I will use Tianzi number 1 and Tianzi number 2. It is time for them to take action." The fourth prince showed a confident smile. Who could compete with him in terms of foundation? Li Zheng got the promise and immediately bowed and left. At this moment, the sixth prince, the seventh prince, and the ninth prince could find almost the same information as the fourth prince. The methods they used were different, but they all wanted to subdue Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. As long as they could control these two people, the position of crown prince would be in the bag. About 8 days later, Shui Wuhan brought Yi Qinghan and the others to the sacred city. Shui Wuhan's mother, Consort Yu, personally led the relatives to welcome them. Consort Yu was a great beauty, prettier than Shui Wu. She was more mature and charming. Her every move was full of charm. She looked to be less than 30 years old. At this moment, she was smiling and looking at Shui Wuhan and Shui Wu dotingly. A mother's status depended on her son. These days, Shui Wuhan had performed meritorious deeds outside. She received the most rewards and was often visited by the emperor. Now, her face was full of peach blossoms and was incomparably rosy. These two must be Mr. Zuofeng and the military saint, Lord Zhu Wuxin. I am very grateful to the two of you for helping my son so wholeheartedly. He does not have any powerful relatives, so he can only look up to you." Consort Yu was very intelligent. Her first sentence was not for Shui Wuhan and Shui Wu, but for Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. Chapter 1242. Imperial Concubine, you flatter me. This is what I should do. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly. Imperial Concubine, you flatter me. Zhu Wuxin also bowed immediately. Mother, these two are my trusted generals. It was all thanks to their support these days. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make such great contributions. However, this is not a good place to talk. Let's go back to the palace first. I will pay a visit to father first. Shui Wuhan said excitedly. Good. Seeing your father first is the right thing to do. Imperial Concubine, you turned around with a few relatives. Gentlemen, please go to Wuhan's chambers and wait. I will host a banquet tomorrow night to welcome you all. I hope that you generals will give me some face. Thank you, Imperial Concubine. We are honored. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin immediately bowed. Everyone stepped into the holy city. Yi Qinghan glanced around and saw many spies. He didn't make a sound. Shui Wuhan had obviously returned to fight for the position of crown prince. Those who had the ability to fight for the position of crown prince would definitely keep an eye on them. They would probably take action today. They would either rope them in or assassinate them. The struggle for power in the imperial court of a world was even more bloody and cruel than the outside world. When the princes fought for the throne, they would fight to the death. There would be no captives. The scout quickly left while Yi Qinghan, Zhu Wuxin, and the others were led to Shui Wuhan's sleeping quarters by a few guards. Shui Wuhan and Shui Wu were led into the inner city of the imperial city by Imperial Concubine Yu and headed straight for the imperial palace. The holy city was very grand and lively. There were almost no poor people here. At most, there were some commoners doing business. It was very prosperous. There were many people on the streets. They were either rich or noble. At this moment, they all turned to look at Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. Many people were in awe of the Jie army. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin were dressed like generals. Their strength was even more extraordinary. Many women wanted to go up and strike up a conversation with them. Even more young people wanted to go up and befriend them. However, they didn't dare because the border army soldiers who stayed at the border all year long had a terrifying killing intent. This killing intent would affect one's mind and normal people wouldn't be able to withstand it. Yi Qinghan did not use the Realm Lord's divine sense to probe the Imperial City, because he knew that the Realm Lord of the Snow Empire and the Realm of Gods was nearby. If he gave himself away, he would be finished. He would not even have the chance to escape, as the other party's divine sense would scatter his soul. The two of them led the 10 Kiliarchs and quickly crossed the street under the guidance of a few guards. No one dared to stop them, and they immediately gave way when they were a few meters away. However, there was someone who wasn't afraid of death. He blocked the road in the middle of the road and arrogantly led his guards to a stall, cursing loudly. It was as if he was about to flip the stall over. No one dared to stop him. There was a vacuum there, and the stall owner begged for mercy in fear. "Young master, we are a small business. We risked our lives to bring these treasures back. You can't just take them away with a piece of heaven-rank spirit god stone." The stall owner was an old man. His face was full of panic and despair. He wanted to reach out and take them back but didn't dare. "Fuck. My young master is giving you face by choosing them. You think a piece of heaven-rank spirit god stone is too little? Do you still want to do business in the sacred city?" The young master's manservant arrogantly asked. The old man didn't dare to speak again. His whole body was trembling. He was anxious and angry, but there was nothing he could do. Many people were angry, but they didn't dare to speak. Who told that young master to be the son of the Minister of Revenue? Li Quan was a high official and noble person. He was an existence that could cover the sky with a wave of his hand. Yi Qinghan saw that Li Quan was holding a giant god top-grade sacred medicine in his hand. It was worth more than a dozen profound rank spirit god stones, which was equivalent to several thousand heaven-rank spirit god stones. Li Quan only gave him a piece of heaven-rank spirit god stone. He clearly wanted to bully him. However, he didn't want to cause trouble, so he remained silent and didn't speak. However, Zhu Wuxin didn't have any psychological burden. He wasn't afraid of offending people. He was a member of the military. If he offended the Minister of Revenue, even if Shui Wuhan couldn't protect him, the Snow Border Army could. "Cripple him," Zhu Wuxin coldly said to the Kiliarchs behind him. The Kiliarchs' mouths twitched. Even the Kiliarchs would be severely punished if they fought in the sacred city. "Do it. I will bear all the responsibility," Zhu Wuxin coldly said. The 5 Kiliarchs heard and immediately pounced. They were the Border Army's Kiliarchs, the peak existence among the giant gods. Dealing with a few guards and a hedonistic disciple was like child's play to them. They pounced and threw a flurry of punches, breaking all the guards' bones. With a fierce, baleful aura, they didn't even need to think about repairing the bones. Then they grabbed Li Quan. Li Quan's wretched face was filled with panic. He shouted, "You guys have big guts. You actually dare to beat up the son of an official in front of the emperor. Is there any law? Is there any law? Beat him." Zhu Wuxin was a commoner. He naturally didn't want to be bullied by a hedonistic disciple. At this moment his willpower was exceptionally firm. Boom. Pa pa pa. Kachat the 5 Kiliarchs ganged up on a hedonistic disciple. For a moment, the sound of slapping filled the street. The crowd was dumbfounded. They all hid far away and watched with schadenfreude. Yi Qinghan stood with his arms crossed. There was a faint smile on his lips. He didn't expect Zhu Wuxin to have such a willful side. "Ah!" Li Quan screamed. His wretched face was now crimson red. The palm print was clearly visible. His leg was directly broken by a Kiliarch's. He knelt on the ground with a ferocious expression. "You guys will definitely... It hurts. Father... Guards! City guards! Guards! Where the hell are you guys?" Li Quan roared. He wanted to climb out of the encirclement, but he was pulled back by the Kiliarchs. After a series of fierce beatings, this was clearly a few martial arts masters beating up a cripple. "Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Who dares to cause trouble?" At this moment, a large group of city guards rushed in. They pushed the crowd aside and saw that it was the border army. Immediately, their legs went weak. They quickly pretended not to see Li Quan being beaten. Looking up, the leader said to the city guards behind him, Someone is causing trouble outside the city. Quickly leave. Whooshed up more than 100 city guards came quickly and left even faster. They directly fled out of the city. The people on the outside looked at each other. They didn't expect that the fearless city guards would have people who were afraid. They didn't even dare to be a peacemaker. This small group of city guards did not dare to meddle in the affairs of the border army, but it did not mean that no one in the imperial city dared to meddle. After such a big commotion, the imperial army from the inside appeared. About 30 people, led by a powerhouse at the limit of the giant god, rushed over quickly, followed by more than 100 city guards. Stop right there. The border army knowingly broke the law. Do you still put the law and military law in your eyes? The leader of the imperial guards scolded angrily. Centurion Xiao Qiong, save me. Ouch. Li Quan recognized the person and immediately screamed. Scram. A small centurion dares to behave atrociously in front of me. Get your imperial guards commander and city guards commander to talk to me. I want to ask them how exactly they manage the sacred city. If they let stubborn people take charge, wouldn't it make the border army a joke? Zhu Wuxin stepped forward forcefully and said coldly. Centurion Xiao Qiong was stunned. He didn't know Zhu Wuxin, but he recognized his attire. It was clearly the attire and sword of the border army commander. Moreover, it was two army commanders. The one who attacked was a Chiliarchs. In terms of official position, he didn't even have the right to speak. Chapter 1243. My lord, as the commander of the realm army, you can't fight in the holy city. The holy city forbids war, that's His Majesty's rule. Please don't make things difficult for me. Xiao Qiong begged. The surroundings were deathly silent. The matter was getting out of hand. The stall owner knew he had stirred up trouble. It was one thing to let Li Quan take away the sacred medicine, but now he might lose his life. He prepared to leave secretly and not participate in the battle between the armies. But Yi Qinghan glanced over and ordered a Chiliarch behind him to stop the old man. Stand here and don't move. Later, you'll testify for us. Don't worry, no one will dare to take revenge on you, Yi Qinghan said calmly. The old man was terrified. How could he dare disobey the orders of the realm army's commander? He could only stay where he was. Yi Qinghan quietly watched the show. He was indifferent to this matter, but it wasn't a bad idea to use this matter to suppress a certain prince. The Ministry of Revenue was the 4th prince's people, but the city guards and the imperial guard were the 9th prince's people. One side made a mistake, and the other side protected them. If this matter was blown out of proportion, both princes would have to bear the consequences. Soon, the imperial guard arrived. A centurion didn't have the right to control Zhu Wuxin, but a Chiliarch was different. The imperial guard was selected from the retired realm army. They believed that the imperial guard was superior to the realm army. A Chiliarch of the imperial guard was equivalent to a major in the realm army, and his cultivation was also at the paramount god level. After all, this was the holy city, and it was different from other places. Jun Iran was a Chiliarch of the imperial guard. He controlled 1,000 imperial guards and had great prestige in the holy city. Most importantly, he was ruthless. He was only responsible for the 9th prince and wasn't willing to give anyone face. At this moment, he led 1,000 imperial guards to chase away the commoners and passers-by, directly surrounding Yi Qinghan's group. The realm army knowingly broke the law and beat up the son of an official in the holy city. Do you think you're so great just because you're from the realm army? When I was fighting in the border army, you were still wetting the bed. Jun Iran coldly looked at Zhu Wuxin and Yi Qinghan, then turned to look at the miserable Li Quan. With a disdainful snort, he said, "As the son of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Revenue, I didn't want to meddle in your affairs. But since you've repeatedly made mistakes, I won't give you any face. Arrest them all and bring them back to the prison to await interrogation." Here, the 1,100 imperial army soldiers growled, their spears glinting with cold light as they pressed on toward Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. There were more than 1,000 imperial guardsmen, a large number of city guards, and a paramount god. No matter how powerful Yi Qinghan and Heartless were, there was no way they could stand up to them. Even if Yi Qinghan were at his peak, he would have to take a detour. The 10 Kiliarchs immediately returned to Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin, unsheathing their swords in defense. Zhu Wuxin was silent as he stared at Zhu Niran. His gaze was so penetrating that Zhu Niran frowned. Yi Qinghan snorted and pushed aside the Kiliarchs in front of him. He stepped forward and looked straight at Zhu Niran. As a Chiliarch of the Imperial Army, if you want to arrest someone, you should at least ask for the reason. I am the Snow Scar Army's Deputy Superintendent, Zhuo Feng. This is the military saint, Zhu Wuxin. It's normal that you don't know me, but it's impossible that you don't know Zhu Wuxin, right? Our positions are similar. Even if we're guilty, it's not up to you to arrest us. Besides, we're not guilty. Whether you're guilty or not is not up to you. Let alone the fact that you're just a deputy superintendent. Even if you were a border army legion commander and dared to fight in the Holy City, this seat would still be able to arrest you. Are you going to surrender, or do you want this marshal to personally take action? Zhu Niran coldly said. Zhu Wuxin wasn't willing to be arrested and thrown into the Imperial Army's prison. Once inside, he would be at the mercy of others. He drew his sword and prepared to fight, but Yi Qinghan smiled and pressed down on his hand. Let's follow them in. I believe that the Imperial Army won't frame innocent people, Yi Qinghan calmly said. Zhu Wuxin frowned and transmitted, once you enter the Imperial Army's prison, you won't be able to get out. Don't act recklessly. If we act now, we'll attract the attention of the military department. Once we enter, we'll be giving up on resisting. Don't worry. The princes will come. Yi Qinghan shrugged and extended his hand. Please. We'll cooperate with the investigation. Yi Qinghan didn't resist, so Zhu Wuxin could only give up and follow the Imperial Army. As for Li Quan, he was dragged away by several city guards, screaming miserably. However, the Imperial Army didn't make things difficult for Yi Qinghan's group. At the very least, they didn't have the strength to restrict them, so they could walk freely. The group quickly left the scene of the incident. The old man from the stall was also taken away, but the spies from the various factions quickly left. The 9th prince was the first to react. After all, the Imperial Army and city guards were his men. When he learned that Zhu Niran had captured Zhuo Feng and Zhu Wuxin, he even forgot to wash up and led a group of Imperial Army soldiers to the Imperial Army's prison. At this moment, the 4th prince, 6th prince, and 7th prince slapped their thighs and led their trusted aides to the Imperial Army's prison. The princes were even faster than Zhu Niran. They were stopped before they even reached the prison. Outside the Imperial Army's prison, there was an open space. The Imperial Army was heavily guarded and filled with murderous intent. The aura of death and resentment was heavy. It was likely that many people had died unjustly here. The 4th prince and the others stopped Yi Qinghan, especially the 9th prince. He was deeply involved in this matter. If he didn't handle it well, he would thoroughly offend Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. What happened? Why did you capture the left general and the military saint? Commander Jun, what are you doing? The 9th prince pretended to be angry and asked angrily. This prince is also very curious. The Snow Scar Army made great contributions at the border. If they were captured as soon as they entered the city, wouldn't the border army be disappointed? 9th brother, 4th brother wants an explanation from you. If the world treats heroes like this, who will protect the Snow Empire and the God Realm? The 4th prince was the smartest and was the first to speak. This prince also has the same idea. The 6th prince and 7th prince said in unison. The 9th prince's face darkened. He stared at Zhu Niran, hoping that he could give a reasonable answer. Reporting to your highnesses, Zhu Wuxin and Zhuo Feng beat up Li Quan, the son of the Assistant Minister of Revenue. Private fights are not allowed in the Holy City. This general was only carrying out his duty and brought them here to investigate. If you don't believe me, your highnesses can ask them, Zhu Niran replied in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Yi Qinghan smiled but did not say anything. He let Zhu Wuxin handle the matter and stood at the back in a low-key manner. Zhu Wuxin could not suppress his temper and said coldly, such a stubborn bully and oppressive bully, yet the city guards did not care. They wanted to use a heaven-rank spirit stone to buy a sacred medicine that was worth a few thousand heaven-rank spirit stones. The enforcers did not care, and the old man was powerless to resist. Are we going to let them do whatever they want? Then are we going to fight on the front lines to let these stubborn bastards enjoy the fruits of their labor and oppress the common people? The fourth prince and ninth prince's faces changed because the ones who committed the crime were people from their side. Officials colluding to oppress the common people was a great taboo. I say, fourth brother, ninth brother, this is your fault. How can you allow your subordinates to ruin the glory of the country? The sixth prince immediately caught the two's weakness and questioned coldly. That's right. The criminals are not restrained, the common people have no place to redress their grievances, and the enforcers want to capture the heroes. This prince will definitely impartially report this matter to Imperial Father and let Imperial Father decide. The seventh prince sternly declared. Yi Qinghan inwardly laughed. There was no need to think about such petty tricks. The struggle between the princes was nothing more than suppressing each other. There was no need for others to interfere. The internal strife between the four princes was enough. Not only could the imperial army not do anything to them, they would also have to apologize and compensate with resources. Sure enough, the fourth prince and ninth prince were furious and wanted to flip out. Chapter 1244. The fourth prince decisively cut off his wrist and said coldly, Li Quan, how dare you behave so atrociously in the sacred city and act so unscrupulously? If the city guards don't execute you today, I will personally chop you into pieces. Men, bring Li Quan to the Snow World's main god residence and announce the verdict in front of everyone. I will personally go to the court to report to my father and thoroughly investigate the assistant minister of the Ministry of Revenue. The fourth prince was ruthless and smart enough to directly cut off one of his arms. He wanted to make Zhu Wuxin and Yi Qinghan surrender. At the very least, it would make Zhu Wuxin, a commoner, have a good impression of him. The sixth prince, seventh prince, and ninth prince were stunned. They didn't expect the fourth prince to even remove the assistant minister of the Ministry of Revenue. This was one of his generals. The fourth prince directly ordered people to take Li Quan away, heading straight for the Snow World's divine residence. This was a place that specialized in judging officials or the sons of officials. Some of the princes who weren't favored by the crown prince would be judged if they broke the law. This place was fair and impartial. If they really broke the law, the crown prince would also be crippled and thrown into the great purgatory, never to rise again. General Zhou, General Zhu, please come to the divine residence of the Snow World to testify. The divine residence will definitely return the holy city to its former glory. The fourth prince said righteously. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. If he didn't know the fourth prince's character well, he would have been fooled by this person's acting. Back then, the fourth prince had sent people to kill Shui Wuhen, and they had chased him all the way here. His viciousness were not so righteous. Then I thank your highness, fourth prince, for upholding justice. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently and cupped his fists. The two generals have been humiliated. Tonight, I would like to invite the two heroes to my residence for a meal. I have heard of your heroic deeds for a long time and would like to get to know you. I hope the two of you will give me face and let me treat you to a meal. The fourth prince took the initiative to invite the two of them. Yi Qinghan was startled. He didn't expect the fourth prince to be so eager to subdue him and Zhu Wuxin. However, wouldn't it make Shui Wuhen and Yu Fei suspicious if they went to the fourth prince's residence for their first meal? Your Highness personally invited us. Naturally, we are honored. However, we are very tired from the journey. How about another day? Yi Qinghan wanted to refuse, but he couldn't say it so firmly. After all, they had just entered the holy city and he didn't want to provoke the fourth prince. How can I not feel sorry for the two generals who are tired? I have arranged for a divine brew bath tonight. This is the fastest way to recover from fatigue. As long as the two generals are willing to give me face and still treat me as a prince, please don't refuse, the fourth prince said hurriedly. The divine brew bath is known as the most luxurious body tempering technique. A night of divine brew bathing is better than 100 years of hard work. I am ashamed to accept such resources. Zhu Wuxin knew the benefits of the divine brew bath. It could allow an ordinary priest to reach the level of a giant god in just a few days. One could imagine how terrifying the resources used were. If one wasn't a prince who was as rich as a country or the future owner of a financial group, who would have the right to enjoy such a bath? The two of you are giants among men and have made great contributions to the empire. You killed a member of the Hupa army in one night. Isn't that a contribution? As the eldest prince who is still alive, shouldn't I invite the two of you to a banquet? Are you looking down on me? The fourth prince pretended to be angry and said in a low voice. Zhu Wuxin didn't quite understand the fourth prince's thoughts. He thought that the fourth prince was a good prince who recognized heroes and respected heroes. He didn't know how to refuse, nor did he have a reason to. Yi Qinghan knew that the fourth prince wanted to use this opportunity to show his goodwill. He wanted to win over Zhu Wuxin and himself. However, the fourth prince had already said so. If he refused, it would be tantamount to falling out with him. The holy city was so big, and basically everyone was on the side of the four princes. Offending them was tantamount to death. Then we shall accept. Thank you for your hospitality, fourth prince. The two of us will definitely keep the appointment. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly and agreed. Seeing that Yi Qinghan had agreed, Zhu Wuxin naturally couldn't refuse, so he agreed to keep the appointment tonight. After all, the other three princes were still a bit younger, so the fourth prince beat them to it. The sixth prince quickly followed up and said, since the two of you have accepted fourth brother's invitation, you can't refuse this prince's invitation. Tomorrow, I will hold a welcoming dinner for the two of you at the holy city's fragrance pavilion. We won't leave until we meet. The seventh prince was about to make the appointment tonight, when Yi Qinghan hurriedly waved his hand and said, Imperial concubine Yu has already decided to hold a welcoming dinner for us tomorrow night. Furthermore, we have already agreed. I hope that the princes won't make things difficult for us. Then the day after tomorrow, I hope that the two of you will give us face. The seventh prince immediately said, since my three brothers have already decided, as the ninth prince, I can only step back. When the two of you are free, I will personally pay you a visit and apologize. This prince feels very guilty today. If I can't offer a humble apology, this prince will feel uneasy. The ninth prince bowed slightly and said in a low voice. All the princes had a courteous attitude, so Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin had no reason to refuse. They could only smile bitterly. The two of them were escorted to the imperial prison but were respectfully escorted away by the four princes. This immediately caused a huge uproar in the holy city. The fourth prince rewarded the old man with some resources and made appropriate arrangements. He repeatedly promised that no one would dare to seek revenge on him before leaving with peace of mind. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin led the 10 Kiliarchs out of the prison and followed the guards to Shui Wuhan's residence. In the palace, Imperial concubine Yu was shocked when she learned that the four princes had invited Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. The four of them were the strongest candidates for the crown prince position. If not for Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin's protection, Shui Wuhan wouldn't even have a chance to compete for the crown prince position. Men, prepare the carriage and leave the palace. Let's go to my son's residence. Imperial concubine Yu was anxious. She couldn't let the fourth prince take away these two people. Otherwise, Shui Wuhan would die miserably. Participating in the battle for the crown prince position meant either success or death. Soon, Imperial concubine Yu led a group of palace maids and guards to Shui Wuhan's residence. Yi Qinghan, Zhu Wuxin, and the 10 Kiliarchs had just arrived at the residence. Imperial concubine Yu hurried to the residence and found Yi Qinghan. Left General, did you agree to the fourth prince's banquet? Imperial concubine Yu's face was full of grief. Yi Qinghan didn't expect Imperial concubine Yu to get the news so quickly. It seemed that those who were favored in the palace weren't easy to deal with. Imperial concubine Yu, don't think too much. The fourth prince has already said so much. If I still don't agree, it will only bring trouble to His Highness. Therefore, I have no choice but to agree. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Imperial concubine Yu sat on the chair dispiritedly. Her hands and feet were cold. She knew the fourth prince's ability to win people over. As long as he chose, no one could escape from his grasp. They either had to submit or die. She and Shui Wuhan were just widows and orphans. They couldn't be compared to the fourth prince. What can I use to attract him and the military saints? Imperial concubine Yu was very anxious. She had to reassure Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, they would lose the battle before it even started. Chapter 1245. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment as he looked at Yu Fei. He guessed that she had misgivings, but he didn't say anything. He waited quietly to see what conditions she was willing to offer to win him over. The more resources and conditions, the better. No one would complain about resources being too hot. Is the left general sincerely assisting my son to become the crown prince? Yu Fei stared at Yi Qinghan as she closed the door. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched as he said indifferently, "Of course. Otherwise, why would I spend so much effort to help His Highness eliminate the Hupa army? Why did you choose him? He has no background, no support, and his relatives aren't strong enough. It's almost impossible for him to snatch the position of crown prince." Yu Fei asked curiously. "Because it's difficult, it's fun. Because it's difficult, I'm important." Is Imperial concubine Yu satisfied with this answer? Yi Qinghan said indifferently. "I've underestimated you. It seems that not only are you strong, but you're also very intelligent." Yu Fei stared at Yi Qinghan, but she couldn't see through him. She didn't know what Yi Qinghan was thinking. Zhu Wuxin was known as a military saint, but he was foolishly loyal and wouldn't betray easily. However, Yi Qinghan was different. This kind of person's heart was too hard to fathom. "I have a piece of news that might be useful to you," Yu Fei whispered. "Oh." Yi Qinghan looked at Yu Fei curiously and asked, "What news?" "Imperial concubine, please tell me." "Actually, His Majesty is seriously ill and doesn't have long to live. He can delay it until next year at the latest. As long as you're willing to help Wuhan take the position of crown prince, when he becomes the emperor in the future, you'll be above everyone. No one will be able to influence your decisions. Whatever you want, His Majesty and I will support you fully. We won't frown." Yu Fei threw out a bombshell. This news was probably known to very few people. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He finally had some emotions. This was good news for him. Once Shui Wuhan ascended to the throne, he would have to rely on himself to control the world. At that time, no one would suspect him. He could borrow the resources to become the second realm lord of the Snow Empire's divine realm. He could then compete with the previous realm lord for the Dao fruit and seize control of the divine realm. Your Highness must be joking. This general only wishes to assist His Highness in becoming the emperor. How could there be any excessive demands? I only wish to cultivate in peace and have sufficient resources. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Wuhan and I are willing to provide you with all the resources in the world for your cultivation. When the time comes, you can have all the beauties in the palace as long as you can keep my family safe and protect the throne. Yu Fei made a heavy promise, hoping that Yi Qinghan would refuse the fourth prince's invitation. Yu Fei was indeed a ruthless character. She could actually make Yi Qinghan ravage the harem. The emperor was not dead yet, but Yu Fei promised to give all his favorite concubines to Yi Qinghan. This promise was too wild. Any man would be tempted. Yi Qinghan did not care about this kind of enjoyment. Even if he wanted beauties, he would choose some that were pleasing to the eye and comfortable to sleep with. For example, Yu Fei's type must be very exciting. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and did not speak. He waited for Yu Fei to continue sharing information. Yu Fei saw that Yi Qinghan did not speak and thought that he was not satisfied. She said, "Sir, if you have any other conditions or ideas, feel free to say it. This concubine will definitely satisfy them." "Your Highness, shouldn't you first find the military saint to discuss this matter? Why find me first?" Yi Qinghan was curious. This Yu Fei's actions surprised him. "I'm just a woman. Although I don't know much about national affairs, I still have some ability to recognize people. Zhu Wuxin, the military saint, is definitely good material to assist the emperor. He is invincible in battle, but when it comes to seizing power in the imperial court, he is inferior to you. Yu Fei said with certainty. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. He did not expect this woman's eyes to be so sharp. All right. Since we've already reached this point, there's no way out for me. Your Highness, why don't you reveal all your cards and we can discuss together how to help His Highness ascend the throne? It's truly difficult for me to do this alone. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. To tell you the truth, when His Highness joined the army, he was a top expert in the realm army. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have died so early. However, he was severely injured back then, struck by the shockwaves of a peak paramount god. Even the realm lord was unable to completely heal the internal injuries. He has already lived a long life, and now he can only lie on his sickbed. Experts from all over are secretly mobilizing to pressure His Highness, hoping that he can become the crown prince. The fourth prince and the sixth prince have the greatest chance of succeeding, and they have many supporters. Only Wuhan does not have the support of powerful relatives. I originally wanted to send him to the army to gain experience, but who would have thought that he would reach this point today? If he does not seize the throne, he will definitely be suppressed in the future, or even killed. I have no choice. Princes without outside relatives would either choose to side with other powerful princes or be exiled. Clearly, Yu Fei and Xue Wuhan were not willing to accept that. For the sake of ascending to the throne, Yu Fei was willing to pay any price, even if it meant sacrificing herself to get Yi Qinghan. Little did she know that Yi Qinghan would definitely elect a prince he could control as the crown prince, or even as the emperor. Now that he had arrived in Cloud City to take over everything, the development of Cloud City would be even faster with him around. Now that the Genius College was on the right track, large amounts of resources were being transported in. Those commoner disciples who didn't have resources before had resources and were nurtured by experts. They were much more attentive and hardworking than the disciples of powerful factions. Their improvement speed was 1,000 miles. 2 hours later, Yu Fei didn't go limp. Instead, she became even more excited. She felt that the Yin origin energy in her body was exceptionally vigorous, flowing through her limbs and bones. Her soul spirit was about to be sublimated, and her realm was actually loosening. She wanted to break through the ordinary giant god realm and reach the peak of the giant god realm. Mister, you are cultivating the dual cultivation technique? Yu Fei and Yi Qinghan looked at each other and asked in surprise. Yi Qinghan smiled evilly. His hair was draped over his shoulders. He was 30% evil and 70% righteous. He was definitely a killer of young women. Yu Fei was alarmed. She hadn't felt her manic heartbeat for a long time, which made her both love and fear it. That's right. Although I absorbed some of your Yin origin energy, I also helped you unblock your meridians, allowing your Yin origin energy to flow smoothly. In the future, your cultivation will be twice the result with half the effort. I presume you won't blame me, right? Yi Qinghan's deep voice was extremely magnetic. It was so hoarse that it made one's heart tremble. Why would I blame you? As long as Mr. wants it, I will come over at any time. Yu Fei moved up and down excitedly. All right, you can get up and go back. If His Majesty makes any moves, inform me immediately. I need information on the 4 majesties to deal with them. I presume they wouldn't expect it. Yi Qinghan smiled evilly, revealing a row of pure white teeth. It was actually somewhat cold. Taking revenge on the 7 realms and putting a hat on His Majesty's head was exceptionally refreshing. I'm a little reluctant to leave. Yu Fei was a little dissatisfied and said seductively. Looking at Yu Fei, Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. He began to take the initiative to attack wildly. After thousands of attacks, Yu Fei was completely exhausted. She felt a large warm current rush through her sacred palace. After a muffled groan, she collapsed onto the quilt. When you go out, don't show any joy. Instead, show a very pessimistic expression. As for the reason, I presume you will understand. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. I understand. Yu Fei replied softly. Yu Fei put on her clothes and left. Yi Qinghan looked at her departing figure and sneered. The real show had just begun. With the information provided by the four princes, it would be a lot of fun to move the four princes. Both of them were clad in a thin veil that was faintly discernible. There were 3 rooms in the inner hall, and there was a large bathtub in each of them. It was steaming hot, and it was filled with spiritual fluctuations that didn't disperse. Generals, please take a bath first. The divine brew bath is already prepared. If you two don't enjoy it, it will be a waste. I hope that you two won't let my efforts go to waste. The fourth prince smiled. The 3 rooms were not far from each other, and there was a soundproof barrier around them. No sound would come out of the rooms. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin stepped into their respective rooms. Heaven's Beauty and Heaven's Beauty entered their respective rooms. They were both absolute beauties. Their white veils fluttered in the wind, and they gave off an ethereal aura. It was impossible to refuse. Heaven's Beauty stretched out her hand and took off Yi Qinghan's battle armor. She said respectfully, "Master, please enter the bathtub. I will massage your muscles and bones to help you recover your strength." Yi Qinghan stepped into the divine brew bath. Boundless spiritual energy rushed into his body. He also adjusted his spiritual space and absorbed the spiritual energy crazily. Heaven's Beauty took off her outer clothes and stood behind Yi Qinghan, massaging his muscles and bones. She helped him absorb the spiritual energy at the fastest speed to prevent the medicinal energy from dispersing. In another room, Zhu Wuxin was also absorbing the divine power from the divine brew bath. Although the spirituality filled the entire space, her absorption speed was far slower than Yi Qinghan's. After all, Yi Qinghan had displayed a space with 3 types of spirituality and a powerful fleshly body. The boundless spiritual energy was enough to make an ordinary giant god explode. However, Yi Qinghan was like a bottomless pit. He did not even need Heaven's Beauty's help to absorb all the medicinal energy and Ling Ji's ruthlessness. The medicinal energy in the divine brew bath was gradually decreasing. In less than an hour, the divine brew bath had lost its effect. Yi Qinghan's ice, fire, and water spiritual spaces were filled. He had reached the peak of the giant god realm. Coupled with the divine elixir of life and the 7-leaf star, as long as he calmed down, he could become a paramount god in 3 to 5 days. "Master, come to the bed. Your servant will massage your muscles and bones, allowing your body and soul to be in a relaxed state. It will help you break through to the next realm." Tian Jijue said softly as she looked at Yi Qinghan, who was resting on the wooden tub with his eyes closed. Yi Qinghan did not refuse. This was a benefit given by the 4th prince. Since he had accepted the benefit, he would raise the conditions later. If he did not agree to the conditions, the assassins outside were prepared for them. Yi Qinghan wrapped himself in a bath towel and lay on the bed. He closed his eyes and enjoyed the moment. Not only was Heaven's Beauty exceptional, her skills were also quite good. Her hands were as white as jade and soft as if they were boneless. It was especially comfortable to touch her skin. The faint fragrance of a virgin spread out, attacking a man's wildness. This kind of woman was only touched for the sake of carrying out the most important mission. Even the 4th prince would not touch her, let alone others. Heaven's Beauty was still a virgin. Everything about her was pure. Only her soul was loyal to the 4th prince. "Master, are you comfortable? From now on, this servant will serve you, okay?" Heaven's Beauty's voice was like the sound of nature. She was delicate and pitiful. Even the heavens would pity her, let alone a man. Yi Qinghan did not reply. It was as if he had fallen asleep. Heaven's Beauty's hands trembled. She was afraid that Yi Qinghan would not agree. She took off all her clothes and used the softest part of her body to massage Yi Qinghan. At the same time, she softly pleaded, "Master, you should be clear about our duties. If you do not accept, only death awaits us. Let this servant serve you. Everything about this servant is clean." "What about your soul?" Yi Qinghan calmly asked. Heaven's Beauty was silent. She naturally understood what Yi Qinghan meant. Her soul had been trained since she was young to be loyal to the 4th prince. This kind of will came from her bones and could not be changed. "I do not like to have eyes by my side." Yi Qinghan pushed Heaven's Beauty away. His will was firm. He put on his clothes and left the room. Entering the main hall, he sat on a chair and sipped tea. The fragrance of the tea assailed his nose. Heaven's Beauty hurriedly put on her clothes and continued to massage his shoulders. She did not dare to leave even half a step. However, she did not mention anything about following him. After about an incense stick's worth of time, Zhu Wuxin and the fourth prince also stepped out of the room with flushed faces. Their cultivations had undergone a qualitative leap. Generals, are you comfortable? You should not be tired anymore, right? The fourth prince smiled. Very comfortable. Thank you, Your Highness, for your hospitality. After receiving benefits, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin could no longer keep a straight face. They spoke truthfully. Haha, as long as the two generals like it, you can enjoy this divine brew bath every day. With beauties as your companions, isn't it wonderful? The fourth prince laughed loudly. He gestured with his hand. Let's go out for a meal and get to know the young talents. A group of people stepped into the main hall. They were a group of young talents, both male and female. Most of them were the children of officials. Their parents were unable to attend the wedding banquet, so they represented their parents. Those who could enter the fourth prince's main hall were either the children of high officials or the sons and daughters of wealthy families. Everyone was familiar with each other, and it was very lively. Only two young men and women were very low-key. They were also very proud and aloof. They stood outside the crowd, occasionally exchanging a few words with each other before quietly reading ancient books and history. Come, Left General, Absolute Saint, let me introduce you. This senior brother is Divine Sect's eldest disciple, Gu Xingtian. This is Divine Sect's eldest senior sister, Nangong Lan. The fourth prince introduced these two first. They were definitely the backbone behind him. Both of them were paramount gods, unfathomable. Although they were right in front of them, they seemed ethereal. They were definitely peak existences. Gu Xingtian and Nangong Lan replied indifferently. They did not speak anymore. They did not even bother to raise their heads to look at them. They were extremely conceited. More than half of the Snow Realm army had died, and the death warriors of the Great Wasteland domain had been completely wiped out in that battle. Fighting 1 against 10, whether it was Yen Ao or Ling Yen, they were both top-notch military saints. They definitely did not understand those military saints, so they would not allow others to humiliate them. Using history as a mirror, if I didn't study that battle of that year for so many years, I naturally wouldn't dare to claim victory. However, after so many years, with the formation of that year right before my eyes, why wouldn't I dare to say that I can do better? Nangong Lan proudly said. The argument between the two virtuous paragons immediately attracted the attention of everyone. One after another, they gathered around to see what was going on. Gu Xingtian looked at the two of them with interest and did not stop them. The fourth prince wanted to stop them, but he was stopped by him. Yi Qinghan coldly looked at the battle between Nangong Lan and Zhu Wuxin. No matter which one of them it was impossible for them to be compared to Yen Ao. If the two of them went back in time, they would only be Yen Ao's teleportation soldiers at most. After all, Yen Ao had followed him to conquer the 7 realms and fought countless battles. His experience was far greater than them, who only knew how to talk on paper. Zhu Wuxin, you will be Yen Ao, and I will be Ancestor Ling Yen. See if I can annihilate your army with the fastest speed and the least damage. Nangong Lan proudly challenged Zhu Wuxin. She wanted to suppress Zhu Wuxin's arrogance and subdue him with a strong attitude. If our cultivations are not on the same level, how can we display the brilliance of that year? Zhu Wuxin shook his head. He wasn't afraid of Nangong Lan, but he felt that she was looking down on Yen Ao. Although the other party was from the Great Wasteland domain, heroes were always worthy of respect. A person who didn't respect heroes wouldn't be strong. I can suppress my cultivation to be on the same level as you. Yen Ao and Ancestor Ling Yen should be on the same level. This shouldn't be a problem, right? You will use 1,000 slaves to fight against my 10,000 Imperial Guards. As long as you win, 1,000 of the strongest slaves will become commoners. Their fighting spirit should be on the same level as the Great Wasteland domain. I won't take advantage of you. Nangong Lan firmly said. Yi Qinghan didn't know what happened later, but according to the historical war they talked about, Yan Ao's defeat and tragic death meant that the Great Wasteland domain had lost their resistance and was finally annihilated. He wanted to know how tragic the last war was. Agree to her, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Zhu Wuxin looked at Yi Qinghan and the fourth prince. Seeing that both of them agreed, he said, As you wish, if your imperial guards can still have 5,000 people left, it will be my loss. Chapter 1249. No one would complain about the two virtuous military sages arranging troops and training them. Yi Qinghan was mesmerized by the scene, as if he could see Yan Ao returning to his side. The fourth prince ordered his men to bring over a tent to watch the battle tonight. Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes as he looked at Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin already had some of Yan Ao's temperament, but his troops were not bold enough and not domineering enough. However, this was also due to his limitations. Zhu Wuxin had only fought a few battles in a year, and it was not even enough for Yan Ao. After a long time, Yi Qinghan decided to intervene. He did not wish for Zhu Wuxin to lose. He was representing Yan Ao, even if he was not on the same level as Yan Ao. Yi Qinghan went to the slave camp and whispered a few words into Zhu Wuxin's ear. Not long after, Zhu Wuxin once again arranged his troops. Sure enough, his army became majestic and imposing. His roar caused the starlight to tremble. Zhu Wuxin saw that the current slave army was several times stronger than before. He could not help but look at Yi Qinghan in shock. He did not expect his battle strength to be so terrifying. He actually understood Yan Ao's troops so well. It was as if he had studied it many times. A death warrior must fight with the aura of a death warrior. Your current appearance is so timid, how can you have Mr. Yan Ao's aura? Yi Qinghan reminded. Yi Qinghan's words broke the barrier in Zhu Wuxin's heart like a clap of thunder. Zhu Wuxin's body trembled as he muttered to himself, That's right, I have always wanted to become a military sage like Mr. Yan Ao. Why should I be timid? Am I not worried about losing my current position? I came here with nothing. Even if I leave with nothing, I will still have profited. Yi Qinghan's words woke Zhu Wuxin up. A new generation of military sage was being born. Gu Shengtian saw Yi Qinghan changing the army's aura and battle strength with just a few words from Yi Qinghan. He could not help but have a whole new level of respect for Yi Qinghan. This Zhuo Feng seems to be very proficient in formations. He is even more familiar with Yan Ao's formations. Gu Shengtian whispered to the fourth prince. Senior brother, do you have a way to subdue this person? The fourth prince was getting more and more excited. If he wanted to become the emperor, he needed the support of these people. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin had performed so well, which meant that his judgment was right. As long as he could take down the two of them, the other princes would become nothing more than passing clouds, unable to withstand a single blow. Tomorrow, I'll give it a try. I'll take advantage of his advantages and suppress him by force. He'll either be unable to recover from the setback, or he'll take advantage of the situation and submit to you. Gu Shengtian said calmly. It was as though Yi Qinghan couldn't even withstand a single blow. Fourth brother, Xue Wu is young and insensible. Why are you being so calculative with a little girl? Wasn't he being too petty? Little brother, I am not angry. Why are you angry? Xue Wuhin said indifferently. One played the good cop, the other played the bad cop. The brother and sister played together very well. Yi Qinghan wasn't a fool. It must be Imperial concubine Yu who taught them to do so. Otherwise, the brother and sister couldn't have done this. The fourth prince was speechless for a moment. He knew that he had missed. He wanted to attack Xue Wuhin, but when he hit Xue Wu, it made people feel that he was petty and calculative with his little sister. I just taught Sister Xue Wu to treat meritorious officials well. Don't order them around. They have their own thoughts and freedom to do whatever they want. You're her brother and your sister is like this. You should discipline her. Don't tell me you're going to let her be willful? How is she going to marry in the future? The fourth prince paused for a moment and pointed at Xue Wuhin again. At this time, it was Yi Qinghan's turn to go on stage. He deliberately created a gap so that the fourth prince and the other princes could take advantage of it. Your Highness, this matter is my fault. I hope your Highness doesn't take it to heart. The fourth prince didn't have any other intentions. He just saw that this general was tired and entertained us. Yi Qinghan said faintly. The dissatisfaction in his heart was self-evident, as if he was blaming Xuewu. Xuewu looked simple. Her tone and emotions were expressed on the surface. No one suspected anything. It's okay. My little sister is not sensible. Mr. Zhou knows. Please don't take it to heart. Xue Wuhan bowed slightly, appearing extremely humble. It made people see the prince's humility, which made many people have a good impression of him. Yi Qinghan secretly applauded Imperial Concubine Yu's plan. It gave him a chance to lean towards the other princes, but also increased Xue Wuhan's prestige. This general doesn't dare. Yi Qinghan bowed in return. The fourth prince, the sixth prince, the seventh prince, and the ninth prince could see that Yi Qinghan was already very dissatisfied with Xuewu. There was a smile in their eyes. At this time, as long as they put in a little more effort, Yi Qinghan would completely leave Xue Wuhan's camp. Chapter 1250. On the second day, the four princes attacked Xue Wuhan together, wanting to break up his camp completely. Xuewu was the finishing touch. Yi Qinghan's eyes were getting colder and colder, and his dissatisfaction was getting stronger and stronger. Xue Wuhan apologized every time at the critical moment, which made Yi Qinghan not know what to do. In the end, Xue Wuhan reprimanded Xuewu, telling her to stop talking. Only then did this smokeless war disappear. At noon, the sun shone brightly. The slave camp rested for a moment before getting up to prepare for battle. This battle was a battle for their freedom. Although it was very difficult to kill 10,000 with 1,000, at least there was a hope of victory. In the slave camp, they only had endless darkness. Today, I will live and die with you. Zhu Wuxin pulled out his sword. His armor faced the sun, emitting cold light. 1,000 soldiers with armor and spears were all first class. They were completely configured according to the craziness of the Great Wasteland domain before its destruction. They wanted to perfectly perform the splendor of that year. These 1,000 people were all slaves of the true spiritual domain. All their power systems were also true spiritual divine force, so there was no problem for them to cooperate with each other. 1,000 people formed a triangle. Zhu Wuxin was at the front, but he still had to rush to the front. It was very dangerous, and he could be killed at any time. This was a real battle, not an armchair strategist. The two armies were separated by 1,000 meters on a huge plain. There was no terrain advantage. If I say stop, you must stop. If anyone dares to hurt anyone, they will be punished according to the military rules. The fourth prince shouted at the two armies. Both sides roared, and the sound waves shook the sky. Seal the sky. The fourth prince ordered. A ray of light covered the sky, covering 1,000 miles. It was impossible to fly in the sky. Back then, in order to eliminate Yanao, they could only seal the sky to prevent him from escaping. It was the same now. Since they could not fly in the sky, it was bound to be more difficult. Kill! Zhu Wuxin took the lead to charge into the enemy group, leading 1,000 slaves to tear apart the enemy's defense like a sharp sword. Shua! What the formation of the army led by Nangong Lan was like an inverted bow. Everyone had a sharp divine spear that could penetrate armor and kill the existence of the flesh. They did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, they surrounded the enemy from both sides. Boom boom boom, bush, bush. The slave camp led by Zhu Wuxin was like a single entity. Like a sharp sword, they directly pierced into the army. Zhu Wuxin's battle prowess was definitely comparable to that of a vanguard general. He swept his way through the army, sending the vanguard flying. The fourth prince frowned and said, "Open the sky seal. As long as Zhu Wuxin escapes the encirclement, you will still lose even if you destroy all the slave camps." "He can't escape," Nangong Lan said disdainfully. Shua shua shua. The flag waved, and the soldiers on the outer circle were ready to attack the slave camp from above. Zhu Wuxin's eyes flashed coldly. If he wanted to reduce his losses, He had to be the first to break out of the encirclement. Nangong Lan would lose if he escaped. Escort me out of the encirclement. The battle will end and you will be free. This sentence was like a stimulant to the people. The 700 slaves madly charged, once again forming a triangle, protecting Zhu Wuxin in the center, wanting to escort him out of the encirclement. What the sky seal was opened, and a large number of Imperial Army soldiers charged from above. Boom! The slaves in the inner circle suddenly threw out their spears into the void, like a rain of arrows. Shwa 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 at spears, sabers, all of them were thrown out like a swarm of bees. The slaves gave up on attacking the army around them, and only released their powerful true spirit energy to defend. Huada Zhu Wuxin followed the pike and charged into the sky, sending one soldier flying with each pike. With a few stellar transpositions, he killed more than 10 Imperial Guardsmen and broke through the blockade above. He then turned and charged toward the fourth prince and Yi Qinghan. As long as he could enter the crowd, he would win. I said you can't escape. 9 heavens frozen. Cold sword destroying 8 desolations. What although Nangong Lan suppressed her cultivation to the limit of a giant god, her speed and destructive power were still terrifying. She turned into a flash of lightning and attacked Zhu Wuxin's back, wanting to stop him. Zhu Wuxin ignored her and increased his speed toward Yi Qinghan. Hiss hiss hiss. The cold sword chi tore through the void, getting closer and closer to Zhu Wuxin. As long as he did not change direction, he would be killed by Nangong Lan. Open! Nangong Lan increased her speed again, and with her sword as one, she attacked Zhu Wuxin's back. The sword chi froze Zhu Wuxin's blood, and could kill him in an instant. However, Zhu Wuxin suddenly rushed vertically, dodging the attack. Nangong Lan could not stop, and her sword stabbed toward Yi Qinghan. It was too fast. When Zhu Wuxin escaped, he was prepared to let Yi Qinghan delay him and not continue to attack him. What? Yi Qinghan's black hair was swept away by the sword chi, and the cold sword appeared on his forehead. Boom! Yi Qinghan put his palms together, and the bracelet became a glove, and actually caught Nangong Lan's sword. Bang! The rocks under Yi Qinghan's feet cracked, and the ground cracked. He twisted his body, and energy rose from the ground, wanting to lift the holy city. Nangong Lan could not move an inch, as if her sword had stabbed into the Realm Lord's hand, and she could not pull it out or pierce it. Chapter 12:51. Boom! The ground outside the holy city crumbled and rocks flew everywhere. Yi Qinghan used his physical strength to stop Nangong Lan's attack, preventing her from advancing an inch. The Forbidden Army was stunned and forgot to attack. They looked at the two people outside the holy city in disbelief. Nangong Lan's white clothes fluttered as she flew in the air. Her sword stabbed forward, but it was stopped by Yi Qinghan. Her pupils contracted. She tried a few times but she couldn't pierce through. That sword was less than an inch away from his forehead. That inch was like a heavenly sword that couldn't be penetrated. Yi Qinghan stepped forward and blocked the attack. He coldly said, "Dao friend Nangong, you have lost. Being too conceited isn't a good thing. If you didn't request for the sky seal to be lifted, it wouldn't be impossible to exchange the lives of 2,000 Forbidden Army soldiers for 1,000 slave camp soldiers. You could even capture Zhu Wuxin alive. What a pity." Nangong Lan landed on the ground and stared at Yi Qinghan. She disdainfully said, "If it wasn't for you, my sword would have been enough to kill Zhu Wuxin. This battle would still be my victory and not my loss." Yi Qinghan poured out his god power and pushed Nangong Lan 10 meters away. He said indifferently, "You are wrong again. The battlefield is constantly changing. If it wasn't for me, there would still be others to obstruct you. How can you be so sure that your sword would be able to kill Zhu Wuxin? Even if you could injure him, does that mean you won against Yan'eo? What a joke. You are just a woman, a frog at the bottom of a well. If Yan'eo was still alive, with your 10,000 Forbidden Army soldiers and his 1,000 Death Soldiers, not only would you not win, you would be completely annihilated by him. Even you would be captured alive. Compared to Mr. Ling Yen, the difference is more than 1,000 miles. It is all talk and no actual battle. Even if you have deduced 10,000 times, it is still all on paper. In actual battle, there are many things you can't see. I don't believe it. If it wasn't for your interference, I would have won this battle. Yen Ao is already dead and will never come back to life. How can there be a result when you compare a dead person with me? It's just a one-sided story. Nangong Lan was furious, as if she couldn't bear to lose. If you don't believe me, you can ask His Highness, the fourth prince, or your divine sex eldest senior brother, Mr. Gu. The onlookers see things clearly. Yi Qinghan took a step back and turned to look at Gu Shengtian and the fourth prince. The fourth prince smiled bitterly, shook his head and said, "Junior sister, the reason why the sky was sealed during the war was not only to prevent Yen Ao from escaping, but also to prevent the survivors of the Great Wasteland from fighting to the death. Also, Mr. Yen Ao is indeed a peerless military saint. The sky was sealed so that he could not use many formations. Otherwise, the 10 million Snow Realm army would have been wiped out." Gu Shengtian sighed and nodded. Although Yen Ao lost, those who stood at the top of the world in the future would not look down on him, nor would they insult him. Otherwise, it would only make him seem ignorant. Zhu Wuxin cannot represent Mr. Yen Ao, nor can you represent Senior Ling Yen. You have indeed lost this battle. It has nothing to do with whether Zhu Wuxin escaped or not. If you were to face Mr. Yen Ao and open the sky seal, it would mean that the Snow Realm army would have been wiped out. Gu Shengtian said hoarsely. When Gu Shengtian and the fourth prince announced the victory of the slave camp, the one who was happy wasn't Zhu Wuxin, but the slaves. "We won. We are free." More than 700 slaves roared. Although some of them were seriously injured, they still stood up bravely and raised their hands to roar. The fourth prince's brows flickered as he made a hand gesture to the border army, indicating for them to kill all the slaves in the slave camp. The people in the slave camp were shocked and retreated in fear. "Wait, Your Highness." Zhu Wuxin frowned. He didn't expect the fourth prince to signal the border army to kill the victorious slaves. "We can't let these slaves go. If they leave, they will be our enemies," the fourth prince said in a deep voice. At this moment, not only the fourth prince, the sixth prince, Xue Wuhin and all the other princes didn't agree to let the slaves go. They all agreed with the fourth prince's decision. A monarch's words carry enormous weight. How can you go back on your words? If we win, we will set them free. That is my promise. If we kill them now, how can I lead the army? Zhu Wuxin was very dissatisfied as he argued. The people in the slave camp were panicking. If Zhu Wuxin's resistance failed, what awaited them would be a massacre. They are not the slaves of Snow Country's divine world. They are the defeated army of an enemy country. If we send them back, how many of Snow Country's border army will be slaughtered? The fourth prince frowned as he tried to persuade Zhu Wuxin. "General Zhu, without His Majesty's order, we cannot release the slaves." Xue Wuhin couldn't help but remind Zhu Wuxin not to continue arguing. It's just a few hundred slaves. If they killed them, then they killed them. Even if they were brothers fighting for the throne, they wouldn't make an issue out of it. How about this? If the princes think it's okay, why don't you give these 700 slaves to me and General Zhu to be our servants? Yi Qinghan immediately suggested. With Yi Qinghan's suggestion, the fourth prince immediately pushed the boat along with the current and did them a favor. That's fine too. The two generals will definitely stay in Saint City for a long time. They won't have a mansion or slaves to order around. I'll give these 700 slaves to the two generals. Let them help build a mansion and protect the safety of the two sirs. The fourth prince felt that Yi Qinghan had already lost his patience with Xue Wuhin. At this time, he struck while the iron was hot. It wasn't impossible to give him a favor. When the slaves heard that they would be given to Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin, they heaved a sigh of relief. At least Zhu Wuxin was willing to speak up for them. And Yi Qinghan was also protecting their lives. At least they would have a better life than the other slaves. Although they didn't have freedom, it wasn't bad. After withdrawing the imperial guards, the fourth prince met with Yi Qinghan alone. On the remote path, there was no one. The fourth prince looked at Yi Qinghan and said seriously, "Left General, if you feel unhappy under 18th brother, you might as well seek refuge with me. Mr. is a smart man. 18th brother will rely on you and Mr. Ju to keep up appearances. Although you are indeed powerful talents, it's difficult to do it alone. It's like pulling chestnuts out of the fire. And looking at the current situation, only Old 6, Old 7, and Old 9 are qualified to fight for the throne. As long as the two of you are willing to help me, there will definitely be a part of this world in the future. Yi Qinghan pretended to be silent. After a long time, he sighed and said, 18th Prince has cultivated me. Although Princess Shui Wu is indeed a little too insensible, if I betray you and turn to your subordinates, I think you will look down on me. How can that be? This prince and you hit it off at first sight, or else this prince wouldn't have invited you to enjoy a divine brew bath and even offered you two peerless beauties, Tian Zhijue and Tian Xiangyan. Mr. Zhua, please reconsider. This prince won't force you. Of course, I hope that you can help me. As long as the two of you help me, defeating Old 6th, Old 7th, and Old 9th will be a piece of cake. The fourth prince stared at Yi Qinghan and spoke with anticipation. Your Highness is too kind. Now that you are evenly matched, how can the balance be changed because of the two of us? Yi Qinghan pretended to smile bitterly and shook his head. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.